How sweet it is, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. Welcome to the dining room table. I'm Jeremy Cordeaux, and this is the Court of Public Opinion. And if I don't hit that drum, it ruins my whole morning. Anyway, I hope you're well. I don't know about today. Your feelings about today. And I thought to myself this morning, I haven't done something I haven't done. There's something that needs to be done. And then I realised I hadn't taken my vitamins. No vitamins! Tony's here, Gary's here. Do you guys take vitamins?
Only vitamin D.
Only vitamin, yeah. It helps you if you're talking to the microphone.
Sorry.
I haven't quite got to vitamins yet.
Everyone should take vitamin D because it's very, very important vitamin.
Vitamin D? Oh, I just take a multivitamin.
That's even better.
I eat a lot of Vegemite. Does that count?
Yeah, of course it does. John Bruni's going to be with us about 9:30.
Hi, if you record your name and reason for calling, I'll see if this person is available.
Okay.
Thanks very much.
Jeremy Cordeaux calling for Robert Gottliebsen. He's expecting the call.
Good morning.
Robert, how are you?
I'm excellent.
I was just about to give you this blazing introduction to the show. You've got your maid there answering the telephone.
There you are, artificial intelligence.
Well, Walkley Award-winning Robert Gottliebsen, economist for The Australian, founder of the Business Review Weekly magazine and all of that. Sir, I wanted to talk to you about this budget. What out of 10 would you give it?
About 3, maybe 2.
How generous.
What is its biggest failure, do you think?
The biggest failure was, first of all, not to understand that we were suffering, beginning quite a severe downturn before the budget. And then what they've done is to turn the place absolutely upside down, and they did it without advice from anybody who knew what was happening or what would happen if they did that. And it hits young people particularly hard, and yet they're the people that they're trying to benefit. But of course, it changes the savings patterns of older people. All of this in a downturn, and it's now scrambling to try and fix some of the things up that it did because it didn't do its homework. This will cause quite a severe downturn in Australia.
You said they did it without any advice. How many people are in the Treasury? He's got economists coming out of his economists.
Yes, well, that's the problem.
Oh.
The Treasury has agendas, and he said he wanted to do various things, and they trotted out the agenda. If there'd been a Keating in charge of as Treasurer or a Costello, they had networks of people that they could go to and check, and they knew to sometimes take a Treasury advice, sometimes not. And Chalmers didn't have that network, and he didn't check with anybody, I don't think, and he just fell into a heap. And you can see now he's trying to fix bits of it up. But when you do something like that at the beginning of a downturn, we were having a downturn as he was speaking, and then just turn the place upside down, you have very severe consequences, and you must accept that.
Do you see any parallels between this government and going back to Whitlam in 72?
Well, the great problem with Whitlam in 72 was that he had people in power that had legacy situations that had come up when they're in opposition who really weren't up to the job. And the main person in that was, of course, Jim Cairns. Yeah. And Jim was made treasurer. Goodness knows why he did that. And Jim was a lot worse than Chalmers. But so he had someone in charge of the economy who didn't know what was going on, though. And horrendous mistakes took place. We got ourselves into a deep recession. And when the election took place, Whitlam was thrown out because the economy was in a mess. So very clear parallels between that. Chalmers is a lot better than Cairns, but he doesn't have people around him to help him. And you can't. Treasury's okay; it's part of your advice network, but only part.
It's sort of littered with unintended consequences, isn't it? But talking about history, in getting rid of negative gearing, they only had to go back to how it started back in 1936. And it was, I believe, or I'm told, that it was started because of a housing crisis.
Well, I'm not sure about that, but it probably was, because if you put negative gearing in, lots of people invest in dwellings and rent them out.
Yeah,
that's how you do it. If you take the negative gearing away, then people won't build or buy residence for rent. And so what he's doing there, quite consciously and you'd think knowingly, is he wants the rents to go a great deal higher, and they will.
Who's going to be happy about that?
Well, it's very tough on younger people.
God, yes.
And at least now they know who to blame.
Yes,
it's nice and simple.
It's that nice and simple and clear as day. I've got Tony Denton here with me, and we were talking just before we went to air about his. Well, you had a business. You built up a business from nothing.
You know, Robert, the thing is, if you start a business, the shares might be worth $100, $101 shares. You sell it for $20 million. Now you pay $4.7 million tax. Because
tax.
Indexing $100 at 3% per annum is $120. Great cost base increase.
So this guy is denying the younger generation all of the things that we had as we were coming through.
Well, in the case of the capital gains tax on entrepreneurial businesses, they have woken up now that there's a bit of a problem there. And a really interesting situation is that Canada, the new Canadian Prime Minister, his predecessor was talking about capital gains tax, and he said no, because I want people to invest in Canada and I want them to create jobs in Canada. Yeah. And he understood what this was all about. And our guys don't do that, you see.
So they're tied up with ideology and not the practical realities of life.
And that's right. And Treasury is similar.
Robert, could you, generally you were saying before there's no CGT in New Zealand. Could you incorporate your company in New Zealand and trade in Australia?
Oh, yes. I was at it doesn't matter where I was, but I was at a function during the week. And there's a lot of people there, senior people there, and including successful startup type people as well. And they're saying, look, we would never start up a business in Australia now. Now, you know, if you're starting up a plumbing business or a particularly local market business, of course you'll have to start it here. But we're talking about a high technology business or something that has that could make itself into a large business. Of course you start it in New Zealand or you do Singapore. They're the two places you'd immediately think of. You just wouldn't do it here.
So exactly the exact thing that they say they want to do, they're killing or disincentivizing.
That's right, and they're scrambling around at the bottom end, saying, "Well, hang on, if you've got a little business, you'll get capital gains tax. You see, if I start up a trade type business or something like that, or any sort of business that's small, basically probably the local market, yes, I won't have to pay these high capital gains tax. But they're trying to define that now and finding how very difficult that is to do. But, you know, it goes worse than that. It's worse than that. Our medium-sized business, family business structures in our farms are structured around trusts. And so they've said, no, we're going to tax you on trusts. And if you're not very careful, the profits will be taxed at 60% or more. As the trusts are taxed at 30%, then they go to other people and they get taxed again.
With the bucket companies.
But anyway, so what you've got to do now is restructure your whole business. And so instead of developing your business for the next 2 years, instead of employing people and doing things, you're going to hang back and try and fix up the structure. And again, that's just another lack of will contribute to our downturn and contribute to our constant lower productivity. And one more thing, which we tend to forget about. The government passed what I call a CFMEU Industrial Relations Act. Horrendous act, just unbelievable act. And everyone thought that there'd be a big problem with this. and there wasn't. And there wasn't because Fair Work put out an interpretation which meant that it hardly changed. They just ignored the Act in their interpretation. High Court, all the courts have said, no, Fair Work got that wrong. And of course they did. And it's back to CFMU type rules. And already you're starting to see companies being affected by this, more inspections, more difficulty with their staff. And guess what you're seeing already? Young people getting sacked in this and not employed because and you see in the unemployment figures that just came out there. Guess who got the most jobs? It was the young people. We're now really not only is the downturn causing all these silly taxes and things they're doing causing us to restrict our costs, but of course artificial intelligence is and the industrial relations laws. So you've got a real nasty, totally imposed by government not thinking.
One of the least productive industries in the whole country, if not the world, would be the tax avoidance business. And I can see that exploding. That's going to be a growth area, isn't it?
Yes, well, because you have to actually now all the probably millions, huge numbers of businesses that are in trusts, they have to be restructured. And so that's be a lot of work in that. You're quite right.
But also, Robert, stamp duty. The states want stamp duty for transferring assets out.
Well, that's right. The states are going to really demand this because they're going to be hit for six by the fact that the way they've structured these capital gains taxes and negative gearing. If you've got negative gearing or you've got a capital, you'll hang on to your house. You won't sell it. If you do sell it, you'll get a much lesser price because the buyer doesn't get the same advantages. So that means stamp duty is going to fall. And that's the base revenue of many of the states. So the property stamp duty is going to get quite hit hard. Now, it may get compensated because of the trust restructuring and things like that. So you can just see that's a swirling mess. And states are going to come to the Commonwealth and say, hey, you've done these crazy things. Our stamp duty's been hit for six. This is on residential houses, and that's just normal property.
Yeah. All the knock-on effects.
and so, New South Wales is already screaming about this. Victoria, of course, they've got no money anyway, and so they have to. They've got to borrow money, and they're spending like you couldn't believe. Yeah. We've got a government here that doesn't give us stuff; it just spends and promises to spend, and it'll just borrow the money.
Now, I know you've got another interview coming, so you just tell me when you've got to go. But I know I'm getting ahead of myself, and we don't have a Governor General who would do it. So I don't imagine these guys are going to get sacked, regardless of how incompetent they are or what the fallout from this budget might be. But what would your advice be to the other side of politics, how it could perhaps take advantage of what has happened? We don't have to have a capital gains tax. We didn't have one till 85, did we?
You've got to start. The opposition has got to start screaming and screaming and screaming. And if the Liberals don't do it, I think One Nation will.
Yes.
But I don't think the opposition. It all just came, and they're only now. It sort of got a bit of a shock. It was there. It was just a huge amount. It only takes a few days before you realise just how disastrous this is. The opposition has a magnificent opportunity here. And we've got two oppositions. We have to hope that they cooperate and they swap preferences and all those sort of things. But they've both got to get out there and really go to that government with a machine gun.
Yes.
And I think there is a mood. I'm in Victoria, so there's a mood in Victoria about the Victorian government. Because in Victoria, your problem is that a lot of people work for the government, and so there's all of that. But in federally, there's suddenly a mood that we've got to do something about this. And in that group of people, and they were affluent people in that room, they said for the first time in our lives, we're ashamed of being Australians.
Yes. And particularly young Australians, this is what all of these changes were designed, they say, to help young people. I can't see it. And if it is all about getting younger people into a home earlier and more easily, they didn't have to put the capital gains tax thing onto shares and other assets.
Well, Jeremy, just in terms of helping younger people, this is the worst budget for younger people I've ever seen. But they didn't understand that they're taking the younger people's jobs away. That's the first thing they're doing. And then in all other ways, they're knocking them around as well. So this is a budget that was designed with, I suppose, good intentions, but it was then designed by a Treasury who didn't know the ramifications and gave these to a Treasurer who also didn't know and didn't have anyone or didn't bother to consult anybody. And he's in a lot of trouble now. And there's a fair chance that this will cost the government the next election, but it's 2 years away. Lots of things can happen in that time. Jeremy, I've got to run.
Yep.
It's great to talk to you.
And you, sir. Have a good day, and thank you very much for your time and your wisdom.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
All the best. He's a magnificent man, Robert Gottliebsen, economist at the Australian and a man of common sense. You see, wouldn't you think that this government, Labor government, Liberal government, would go along and talk to people like Robert Gottliebsen before they do this sort of stuff?
It's absolutely stunning that has not occurred. You just make an assumption as a voter that these people who you put in government collaborate with appropriate sources, and they don't.
Well, what is best? That we just say they're stupid, or that they have got an agenda, a socialist or communist agenda? I don't know what is the best label to hang on this budget.
I think the only thing you can do is assume that, as you've said a million times, they're all ideologues. They're not feet on the ground people.
Well,
they're not practical people.
You couldn't really have practical people in Canberra, could you? Because after all, that's a bubble. They live in their own glorified, rarefied little world.
I think the other point that's often made is if the government employs everyone, they're going to have them voting for them.
Yeah, well, that's true.
I mean, here's a breaking news story on the Financial Review.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. The headline says, Greens demand that government toughen budget measures. So for the Greens, it's not tough enough.
Yeah.
The negotiations have begun between Labor and the Greens, and the latter want tougher changes to CGT and negative gearing to provide revenue for bigger tax cuts.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, no,
They're
won't get
destruction.
don't take the money in the first place, then you won't have to hand it back.
But the Greens are just so destructive, absolutely
Well,
destructive.
they're communists. You know what they
Only
say.
the rebadged
They're
Communist
disgraceful.
Party.
Well, it's, the green on the outside and red on the inside, like a watermelon. Well, look, I think that's true.
It is so true. I've never heard of that one before.
The good love when we're all alone. Keep it up, girl. Yeah, you turn me on. I'm hooked on a feeling. I'm high on believing that you're in love with me.
Hooked on a feeling. High on believing. Oh, yes. It's May the 22nd. Hooked on a feeling, Maria.
Yes, we sure are hooked on a feeling, an angry feeling.
Well, get it off your chest.
Good morning, everyone.
Hey, Maria.
Morning, Maria. Go, Maria.
Take the good out of it, I think. Now, liars. Albo and Jim, you don't impress me very much. You both think you're something special. You're not. Now, liar Jim thought he knew everything about finance in Treasury because he got his doctorate at uni. His PhD was done on Keating.
Yes.
I know.
Dear.
It's a bad start, isn't it?
Yeah, a very bad start. What a load of bullshit you produced as a budget.
That's the PhD he had to have.
PhD on a total dickhead.
Look, can't we sort of get rid of them now? Don't wait 2 years
How do we
because...
get rid of them?
Well, any ideas? We're open to suggestions.
What about the guy that tried to put off Trump?
Well, I would just... Yeah,
He's in jail.
well, we can go to it possibly an early election.
How do we do that?
Well, they wouldn't do that. They wouldn't. The reason that they put all this stuff in now, 1 year after getting a 94-seat majority, was that they'd say, we've got all this political capital to spend. We've got a couple of years to give some tax cuts along the way, and we'll keep them happy. But you see, the point is that they don't know what they're doing. That's the problem.
Yeah, they don't know what they're doing and they're lying through their teeth. We don't buy it anymore. They lied about the 3-level tax cuts that pushed a lot of people into the higher tax bracket by stealth. Increasing more taxes is stupid. Relying on bracket creep to slyly drag Australians into a higher tax band, honestly, why? Lower tax rates, remove them totally, get rid of all the complicated rebates, subsidies, grants, concessions, offsets, welfare, charities, rorting, frauding, NDIS. You want a tax system that rewards hard work, not penalising.
Marie, the only reason people chase tax breaks like negative gearing and capital gains concessions is because the income rate tax rates are too high and they cut in too early. They cut in at the top rate here at about less than half of, say, America or Canada.
Yeah.
$400,000 or $500,000.
If we have to have a tax band, it should be 20%. Yeah. And all those things removed. Stamp duties, property valuations and stamp duties on those are wrong. Also remove all the excise taxes on fuel, cigarettes, alcohol, as I say, stamp duty, to actually charge you for selling a property at different rates. It should be just one rate. It's never been cheaper. We don't own our land titles office. It's digitised. You don't have to go to the vendor,
it's been privatised.
buyer. You don't have to go to the office. You don't have to go and send the documents maybe if somebody's away. It used to be a very elongated way to do business. Now, with a few clicks of the key, bang, So why have that very high stamp duty? It's unnecessary.
Well, you know why, Maria? We've per head of population, we have the greatest number of public servants in the OECD. And that is just stupid for 28 million people. Somebody's got to pay for that. The whole thing, become the country with the lowest tax regime in the world, and you'll find people beating a path to your door. And I can promise you this, Maria, that the New Zealanders are smart. They're going to be in this country and they're going to be grabbing interview opportunities on programs like this because they want the word out. Come to New Zealand. This is where we don't have any capital gains tax. Our income tax is much lower, and we'll give you a fair go.
Maria, the other hidden rort on top of when you buy a house, the stamp duty, is the LTO fee. When we bought the house across the road here 12 years ago, my partner Helen, who's a lawyer, said, you won't like to hear this, but the LTO fee is $11,000.
What is an LTO fee?
It's a transfer
Lands
fee.
Titles Office.
It's a transfer fee. I was talking to someone who works at LTO at a function recently, and he said, we just make so much money because it's all pure profit. It's all computerised. $11,000 for doing absolutely nothing.
Well, they'll continue to ask.
But shuffling a few bits of paper.
But they'll continue to ask as long as we go on allowing it.
That's exactly right.
Well, we shouldn't allow it. And the other one, which is a great big profit-making thing, is real estate commissions. The house sells themselves these days. You don't have to go backwards and forwards. Your advertising fee. In the old days when I worked in real estate, everything was included in the commission, the advertising, the sign, blah, blah, blah. Now everything is value added, and the fees for actually hiring the real estate person is an arm and a leg, or maybe 2 arms and 2 legs. And as I say, the homes sell themselves.
They just merely open the door, Maria.
You know, the best agent is one who's not too pushy, just lets you look around and the house sells itself.
Well, if it doesn't sell itself, there's something wrong
with it. Who did you work for, Maria?
It's not around anymore. Matters.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Matters, yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, it is just so easy. There's so many things that we could fix, and they just have got their head buried up their backside. And as you say, Jeremy, that cut the bloated public service. You know, everything goes to consultants. They give you an example, Housing Trust. Housing Trust hardly got any stock, or the little bit of stock that is there is run down, or it's given to all these charities, you know, that always cry poverty. They want more, 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 but people aren't getting off the waiting list. We need somebody with really bold backbone, as a person like Pauline Hanson, that will say it the way it is. Yes, she gets crucified, but, oh, God, she's got the tenacity and the backbone.
She's tough, yeah.
Yeah, that Australians love. Tough love, yes, necessary, but if it doesn't need tough, you know, we will help you. Now, the second thing I want to talk about, no, one more thing. Lord, please help us to remove this worst government since Whitlam. When taxes become excessive, people look for cheaper alternatives. The black market grows. Government is aiding and abetting with all these stupid policies that they bring out. A second group of ISIS brides and supporters are returning maybe next week.
Yep.
Now, when they say they are Australians, I remind them ad nauseum, they denounced their Australian citizenship, they ripped up their passports, and they didn't want to come back. They made their choice.
Yep.
They've got to live with those choices. And as the government and as the people are requesting, slap a permanent exclusion order on them and goodbye. And the other sickening thing that I heard, shocking, that the Taliban child brides decree, legalising child marriages at the age of 9. And selling infants as young as 20 days old, sold between $700 and $4,622.
Yeah, but there's a lesson in there for us as well, because the Afghan people could have, at some point, they could have risen up, they could have said no to the Taliban, they could have said no to ISIS, but they just go along with it. The lesson is, don't go along with bad governments. You're only encouraging them. And what's that going to get you? More trouble.
Angela Jones.
Thanks, Maria.
I love your kind of loving. It's always been true. I love the way you whisper. I'll always be in love with it. Angela Jones. Angela Jones.
Angela Jones. What did you want to say?
Oh,
Gary?
thank you, Jeremy. A special request it was this morning.
We do special requests.
Yeah, to send a cheerio to a good friend of mine. His name's Walter Sturzberger, and he lives up in Blackwood. The guy's
That's a good name, Sturzberger.
Sturzberger, it's German, yes. And he's a genius. He's an electronics man with motor vehicles, and I couldn't live without him. And he's gone through a very serious set of setbacks medically, but he's coming out the other side. And I have huge admiration for him. So good on you, Walter.
Yep. Keep it up. We're thinking of you.
Keep up the good work.
Our sponsors are Rossdale Homes, by the way, a fine South Australian family-owned company and famous, well, for a lot of things, famous for a lot of things. Fixed price guarantee being way up there, but of course their quality is something else that they're very proud of. No nasty surprises, whether you're a first home builder or a seasoned property developer, you will love them. Their slogan is and has been for years, Rossdale Homes, when trust is a must. Remember, only you can change the price, and you are not going to do that, are you? Well, I can't see anyone ringing up Rossdale and saying, just lift the price there a bit, would you? Get it up on the sides there a little bit. No, peace of mind is what you get. Great quality as well. rossdalehomes.com.au. It's kind of a sad day for radio. I'll tell you why a little bit later on. It's the 22nd of May. It's just a day that no radio-loving person would really want to see. I will tell you why later. Dr. John Bruni's arrived. How are you, sir? Drinking his coffee.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jeremy. You got me almost mid-mouthful.
I didn't mean to catch you in the middle. You well?
Yes, thank you. Yes,
Good.
I am.
Thank you for coming.
No problem.
Appreciate it. Every president in the world seems to be beating a path to the door of China.
Yes, China is becoming the stabilising influence in the international community. Surprise, surprise. All they had to do was never get in the way of Donald Trump making a mistake and they inherit the earth. It was a simple formula, but it is something that I think history shows is quite right. You never get in the way of someone making mistakes.
Now, does Xi Jinping, does he have the same welcoming parade and the same number of kids jumping up and down with flags? Do they all get the same treatment, I'm asking?
Well, I don't know. I mean, Donald Trump was allegedly led into a garden that Xi Jinping assured him no one else had access to, except for when Vladimir Putin came to visit him and went to the same garden. But you can play these games with Trump because he's a buffoon. I mean, in many ways, that is what he is.
No idea.
He's got no idea, and you can lead him like a bull with a ring through its nose, to wherever you want it. And so long as you flatter him, you're okay.
Yeah,
that's it.
He's very much a sycophant. Sycophant, sorry,
yes.
that word, right?
Definitely
a sicko.
You can't say psycho.
He loves hanging around with the rich and famous
and the powerful, and he sort of almost bathes in this collective glory. If you claim to be more powerful than Donald Trump, he won't say, "No, Gary, that's not true." He won't say that. He'll say, "Oh, can I stand next to you? Can I rub shoulders with the great man?"
He speaks very highly of you, John.
I know he does. Yes. But it's kind of a sickening display of I don't know. I mean, everything. See, I can't even paint this pig with lipstick anymore because, for a long time now I've been trying to rationalise. Well, okay, maybe there are some intelligent people behind Trump doing all kinds of things to rectify the U.S. Republic. Maybe, but now, well, yeah, that's right. They've been purged out of the system. But now it's obvious that it's a corrupt, the United States now under Donald Trump is a corrupt apex banana republic. They are the very country that they used to castigate all those other countries south of the US border for being. They are now doing it better than they ever did it before because none of those South American states had the power, the wealth that they could shuffle around on the decks of their respective Titanics. So now we're seeing the United States in this situation, and look, honestly, I've been interviewing since I've come back from hospital. I've restarted up my podcast, and the people who I love and respect the most are those old style Republicans. Those never Trumpers, those real Reaganites.
Yeah.
And they are as disenfranchised from the system, the American system, political system, as I think I'm probably disenfranchised from my own political system. And it's both heartening and scary at the same time, because they all say, you know, John, as bad as things are here in the United States, never bet against America. Now, I've heard this on the last 2 podcasts. And I will say quite clearly, from what my understanding is, the Republic of the old, the ones that, you know, the America that we grew up under, doesn't exist anymore. Now, there is no going back. The damage that Trump has done to relations internationally will mean decades worth of concentrated diplomacy to try to get things back. But, you know, there is no animal in the history of history that has been able to do that. Once you break the shibboleth that kept everything going for as long as it has.
The shibboleth?
Well, you know, the rule
Great
of
wonderful word.
You know, well, yeah, it's an old word, but it's a nice word to use.
It's a great word.
Yeah, it's a dramatic word. So, you know, once you break those bonds with your allies will never see you in the same way again. Sell me out once, I will not trust you, is what they're doing. So, of course, Xi Jinping, who's sitting on the sidelines thinking, you know what, I'm going to do what I always do. I'm not going to be particularly offensive. I mean, I will repress my local Uyghurs and Tibetans and Hong Kongers and everyone else that thinks not good thoughts of me internally. But externally, I'm just going to sit there like you know, the Buddha statue and just let the world come to me. And this is exactly what's happening.
And it's happened. Look, the Canadian Prime Minister, the German Chancellor, the French President, the English Prime Minister, Trump, Putin. I mean, it's a very well-worn path
but
to the great hall of the people.
Correct. But, you know, again, when we talk about history, we tend to forget that the imperial Chinese dynasties that ruled over China for millennia operated along similar lines. You know, there was that central power in Peking, Beijing, and there the allies weren't allies, they were tributary states. They all understood that China was the center of their world and their universe, so they all came, the kings from other places, and gave tribute to the Chinese emperor. We're starting to see a sort of similar pattern, and the Chinese don't have to do much. Now, you know, you don't see that, and this is one thing that is really quite astounding. We look at China as Westerners as though we understand China, and we don't. We don't really understand the language, we don't understand nuance, and we don't understand that the Chinese are playing a default Chinese historical setting card. So they sit back and they build up their military forces, but they're not throwing their weight around like, I don't know, the United States is, right? So the US is all the power. I got all the power. I got all the power. So we're going to start bombing, and we're going to use it. We're going to, you know, do all this. I'll blockade the blockade. I'll teach you a lesson. You know, you upstart Iranians, Panamanians, and whatever else.
With some experience in going to China, I've been there about 30 times. I've got to know Chinese reasonably well.
Yep.
And a consistent thing that comes across to me is that they are all supporters of the writings of the Sun Tzu.
Yep.
And furthermore, there's a more recent book that is worth reading by everyone called Thick Face, Black Heart. Have you heard of that book? No. It is an absolute stunner in terms of understanding how Xi Jinping is a classic example of the Po face.
Yes.
And he maintains that Po face at all times and always puts on the same show.
Yes, he does.
And just recently, because of the way that we've seen Trump dance over there and cuddle up to him, and then a week later, Putin gets the same treatment, I think is how the Chinese are saying to Trump, rack off, buddy.
Look, she said something that I thought was very important. And some of the journos picked up on it, and some of the commentators did as well. And that is that she said, mentioned the Thucydides trap to the American president. Now, for those of you in the audience who don't know what the Thucydides trap is, it is an old historical phrase that harks back to the Peloponnesian War between the Greeks and the Spartans, where the Greeks and the Spartans, what am I saying? The Athenians and the Spartans, where the Athenians held the whip hand and thought that they could dominate the Peloponnesian Peninsula in Greece, in ancient Greece, until they came across the Spartans, and the Spartans were the rising power. And they, in the end of a very long and bitter feud, they belted the Athenians to the point where the Athenians were no longer the power on the Peloponnesian Peninsula. So it's a theory of rising powers challenging established powers. Now, in the modern context, Xi Jinping is reminding the United States that yes, you are the established power, but we are the rising power. So be very careful with how you treat us.
I like the way they brought up their kids. They had the survival of the fittest, and if you weren't fit, you weren't going to survive. So they would put the child or the baby on the hill and leave it there for a day or a week or something. And if it was still alive when they went back, they thought, well, this kid's got some chutzpah. Yeah. They mightn't have used that expression. But
John, another important thing that people miss is the 100 years of shame that the Chinese talk about all the time. Yes. And, of course, the Lap and Belt Project is a reincarnation of how they controlled the world at one point in time. And that's not something that's talked about very much at all, or even understood.
No, it's not understood,
the whole
Gary.
Silk Road thing.
Yeah, it's not understood. And this is the thing. I had a Singaporean diplomat who was the president of the UN Security Council, Kishore Mahbubani. We spoke about this at quite some length. Now, he would be your quintessential Asianist. And I wouldn't take everything that he says on board, but I integrate at least 80% of what he says, and especially when we were talking about Australia's role in this region. Now, I know back in the day when Prime Minister Keating was trying to drive a particular viewpoint home, Keating came from a political philosophy of crash or crash through. There were a lot of things in Keating's program that theoretically would have been beneficial for Australia, but he didn't really care to let Australians organically, bring it into their thinking. He just smacked it in there and said, you either accept it or you can go and get stuffed. Well, he suffered the political consequences for that action. But some of the things, like his outreach to regional countries, the more focused effort at trying to understand Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, China, Japan, those are things now we do not do, because when the opposition then took over, they, and look, I was a Howard guy back in the day, so there's no running away from that. But, when Howard did take over, all of a sudden these Asia language programs, all the things that would help young Australians understand Asia were torched, because they were no longer considered relevant. So what we did then was we went back to our simple-minded view of the world, where it's all about the Americans and the Asians are a threat or an enemy, or, failed states and a collection of things that we need to stay away from. That's a problem for us.
It is a problem. People wonder why the Chinese are so sensitive about the South China Sea. Yeah. Of course, that's integral in the Lap and Belt Project.
Well, it is. And the other thing too, there are ways in which we could have run a counter program to what the Chinese are doing, but without really understanding Chinese power, understanding Chinese culture, political culture in particular, because we just don't know. I mean, pick someone out in Canberra, in the policy and the political sense, who would really have an understanding of China and how Australia should navigate its way through. So we've got this bet each way thing. It's like we're playing international two-up. We're flipping the coin. Today it's China, tomorrow it's the United States, today it's the United States, tomorrow it's China. This is unsustainable.
We'd be very wise to pick up our game with respect China. Having been there, as I said earlier, so many times, I think they're absolutely delightful people. And I've done business with them. I've stayed in their homes. I've eaten with them. Well, I've made love to a couple too.
They
are delightful people.
They own 70% of the property in Australia.
Well, yes, indeed they do.
And guess who? And again, I don't want to raise this, but being the avowed political cynic, who made that happen? The Chinese didn't come in here with guns a-blazing. We said, we like your money. Come here, take whatever you like. And we've created the laws and regulations necessary for that kind of international investment, and then we complain about it. And yet the ironic issue that I hate to use it because it goes against everything that I think is good and fair in the Australia that I understand, and that is, we look at the Chinese, and we like to pick bones with them here, there, and everywhere else. And yet, if it wasn't for our economic relations with China, we would have had, I don't know how many recessions over the last 25 years, but at least 3 or 4 of them we dodged. Yeah. And arguably, we kind of survived COVID not because of the ruckus that Morrison caused to the Chinese government, but all that goodwill that we had with the Chinese prior to COVID, that allowed us to do things with our economy, which didn't hit us as hard as other countries. So,
well, what do we do? What do we do with Taiwan, though?
Exactly.
It's sort of sitting there.
Yep.
Well,
I know they're patient.
it's a bit like Hong Kong, really. At the end of the day, it's Chinese territory.
But they play the long game. But sooner or later, America and Australia
Yes.
are going to have to decide how they will react.
Well, see, the thing is, we've all and this is another own goal by the West. You want to be an enemy of China, then be an enemy. But we want it both ways. We want to milk them for the cash cow that they are, and we want to bludgeon them over their head every time we think they step out of line. That only gets you so far. So long as the Chinese are under you in a power sense, that you think that you can get away with, monstering the Chinese, or the Chinese don't want to really raise a storm because they get something out of you. So long as those sort of relationships are stable, it's fine. But when China starts accruing power and is now starting to challenge the United States internationally, not by war, not by intervention, not by anything, but by bags of money and the promise of international stability, guess where the rest of the world is going to start looking at? They're not looking at the United States right now, let me tell you.
Why bomb it if you can buy it?
It's a far better way of doing business.
Well, historically,
right?
John, I stand corrected, but when was the last time China invaded someone?
1979, and it was
Hong
against...
I didn't invade.
No,
them.
that wasn't.
Tibet.
That was a no. Well, yeah,
Tibet's
that was
theirs
1950. That was 51 or 55. But 1979 was technically the last time China invaded a neighbouring state, which was Vietnam, and it got its hide whipped because, of course, the People's Liberation Army back then was, literally a 1950 army designed for people's mobilization warfare, not for modern war. And the Vietnamese had just come out of the Vietnam War and whipped the Americans. So, of course, they just turned their military forces around and whipped the Chinese. Now, I don't think that you can say now that the Chinese are in a similar position, but we don't know. See, they live by this thing called strategic ambiguity, not the strategic ambiguity of Trump. I'm going to bomb them. I'm not going to bomb them. It's Taco Tuesday.
They're smarter than that.
They're smart. So what they do is they say, I'm going to build up my military forces. I'm not going to release any information about my military forces, so you won't know whether they're good, bad, indifferent, whether they're well trained or not. But they're going to be so big that you're going to have to start thinking, well, gee, do I really want to tackle these guys? Because what happens if their stuff is good? What happens if their soldiers are well trained? We're going to take casualties. We may not want to take those sort of casualties. That's where Chinese power is. It's all mental. Yeah. And I would argue that were it to ever come to a shooting war over a place like Taiwan, it will be very reminiscent to what we're seeing between Russia and Ukraine at the moment. Right now, the Ukrainians are the one holding the whip hand. Why? Because even though the Americans have technically stepped back from arming Ukraine, because, America first and all that rubbish, the Europeans have stepped up their game and have started filling the holes that the Americans have left for them.
Choice, really.
No, they haven't, and that's not a bad thing.
No,
but I can see that if there was going to be a shooting war over Taiwan, the Americans, like the Americans happen to be doing over the last since the end of World War II, they underestimate their opponent. They think their opponent is weak or somehow technically inferior or somehow they don't know what they're doing, only they know because their intelligence services are the top of the tops. And yet, really, when you think about it and take the long historical view, name me one war in the last 80 years that they've clearly won. I can name two. I can name two, right? So there was Grenada and there was Panama, right? And both in the 1980s and both against powers that are so small, technically incompetent, corrupt, failed states that, yes, of course, the United States is going to send a small force in there and take out Noriega or take out the Cuban revolutionaries that hold up in Grenada. Yeah. But when was it that the United States actually took on a major power that was at their level?
Is he going to take Cuba?
Highly likely. Who knows? One minute it's on, next minute it's off. Look at what's happening in the Strait of Hormuz. And the thing that got me this morning, and it's something that I spoke about earlier on this program a number of times, but I think we're getting now close to the red line. And the red line is supply and demand. Now, up until this point in time, we've managed to squeak by the Strait of Hormuz oil and fossil fuel related stuff.
It's going to run out. Yeah.
Because we've been dipping into our reserves. But those reserves are finite. And the good money is by about June, July, the northern summer, the peak of the northern summer, where most people like to get out and about and do their things, we're going to start seeing that those reserves are going to be diminishing even faster. And if Trump keeps on tacoing out with no answer to the Strait of Hormuz, we are in serious crisis. We're talking about fuel prices we can't even imagine. We're talking about an inflationary wave that will hit us all simultaneously. Normally when we have recessions and depressions, they hit parts of the world.
Yeah.
This one is going to hit everyone. The advanced developed economies, the global south, everybody. There is not going to be one person walking away from this.
This is not the time to introduce a budget like that they've just introduced. The great Dr. John Bruni is my guest from Sage International, and of course the
Focus podcast.
The Focus podcast,
indeed.
That interesting story about the Australian. He's a former US fighter pilot. He's now an Australian, as I say. He's been in jail for 4 years without a trial. The Americans want to extradite him because apparently when he left the Air Force, it must have been a fairly senior rank that he had, when he left the Air Force, instead of settling down in the United States, he got a job in China training fighter pilots. And the Americans want, he's a traitor. They say he's a traitor. We're going to extradite him. And I don't know if the Australians are going to allow it to happen. But what do you make of that? I mean, he was a free agent, wasn't he?
Well, let me put it to you this way. We've had Australian nationals caught up in similar crises over the last few years where, we have an open market for ex-service personnel. So we're talking about people who have left either the American military or the Australian military. Now, those who are in specialist occupations, for instance, they deal with the technology, fighter pilots or people who work behind the scenes in the air crews and so on and so forth. These are the people who then, after they have been let go by their respective state, are effectively unemployed if they cannot find a path to employment post their service career. So in an open free market, the very market that we're always, beating the drum saying how wonderful it is, in a free market, you should, by rights, go to whoever's holding the paper bag with the money in there and sell your skills on. Now, there are a couple of things with regard to that. Yes, there is the idea that you're selling your own country out, but then there's the other notion as well.
But they're not at war with China.
We're not at war with China. We're trading with China. They're our number one trading partner. So if you look at it from that perspective, firstly, what is the problem? That's not treason. That's the market. Right? So we don't use them anymore. We don't put them in a reserve and pay them a stipend to keep their skills in our country, which would be the correct thing to do because they do have stuff that can still help Australia or America moving forward. So we let them go, and then we say it's a free market, do what you like. As soon as they do what they like, we say, you're a traitor, how dare you, we're going to jail you.
Because you've got certain skills as a fighter pilot. They're sort of narrow. You've got to look for somebody who wants those skills. Now, Tony, with his factory, made various things for the Defence Force, and you had to sign a secrets agreement, part of that, which, do you have to stay stumm for the rest of your life?
Well, I didn't actually, when I was with British Aerospace, I didn't actually work on any particularly top secret things, but I think, you definitely would have to.
Yeah.
If you've got those sort of clearances.
Do they have the death penalty in the United States, John?
Some states they do.
Some states they do. It's not across the board. Yeah.
Well, I think that
sadly not in Florida.
Well, we've got.
What do you mean, Gary? What do you mean?
I've got your name.
Yeah. We've got an agreement, I believe, that we do not extradite people to any country that has the death penalty.
That's correct. Yes.
And clearly, if he's facing a charge of treason. You would think
that would probably open that door, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I would think.
Look, Guantanamo's filling up.
Oh my God, Guantanamo Bay, that brings back memories. Not that I've been there, but no. No, but there was a certain young Australian
you were wearing the other day was a bit odd.
Yeah, there was a certain young Australian that got himself caught up in the so-called Taliban, at the time that we decided to invade. And his name was... I can say his name?
Yes.
All right, David Hicks.
Yes.
And at that time I was working with Senator the Honourable Natasha Stott-Despoy's office, and we then launched a major campaign to get this guy released because we thought that, firstly, the charges that the Australian government were laying against him were not correct, and we thought that it would be far better for him to be released from Guantanamo Bay and face Australian justice and an Australian investigation if that were the case. Look, if he's done something wrong, let the Australian courts deal with it. And I think that that's kind of made me rather one-eyed in terms of how I see this sort of thing, except for when it comes to people who have a genocidal view on the world. Now, a young man travelling around doing weird things, maybe he wasn't quite, thinking correctly in terms of where he saw himself in the world. That's one thing.
Girls go and join the Taliban, don't they?
But the girls going to join the Taliban. Oh no, not even the Taliban, but ISIS brides and all that kind of stuff. These people have a genocidal view of the West. They bear the children of hardcore fighters. That's a different level of commitment, I think, than just, some aimless
I think I was being cynical.
wanderer. Yeah, yes. No, I get it, Gary. But, I think for people out there, it's important to know that the law is full of minefields. But what you need to do is you need to have a very clear sense of what is right and what is wrong, what you can manage and what you can't manage. Now, you can manage a person like David Hicks. That's easy. He served his time, he did his penance, and now he's out there in the community doing whatever he's doing. We don't know, and that's a good thing. On the other hand, the ISIS brides coming back in with their kids from an extremely radicalised political and social environment, their ability to reintegrate in this community, I think, is very low. And I think that you are then going to set yourself up for problems down the road at some point.
I agree.
This is Caroline's just given me this. In short, a group of Australian women and children have left a camp in northeastern Syria and are believed to be on their way back to Australia. It follows the arrival of 4 women and 9 children back in Australia early this month. 3 of these women in that earlier cohort were arrested and charged by federal police. Now, do you really buy the fact that the federal government here is trying to pretend that passports were somehow provided and delivered, and
we know nothing?
And we know nothing. Will the Australian people buy that? It's a hot issue.
Look, it is a hot issue. I don't think Australian people are going to buy it, and I think that this is where political capital from, political parties like One Nation will make its greatest hits against the current government. And that's not to say that, we should all go out there and vote for Pauline Hanson. There are going to be those that they think that that's fantastic. There are others that need to be, who would say, well, okay, that's fine, but what is the long-standing policy that she brings to the table here? And there needs to be a long-standing policy. We need to have a judiciary that can work in Australia's favour. It's a similar kind of claim where we say the police do their job pretty good. They keep the streets as free from crime as they possibly can. But then, when they catch the bad guy, it's usually the legal system that lets them back out in the street. So we need to have some form of understanding that, the people who are the long arm of the law to keep things, public safety front and foremost, should also be the people who are in the courts of law. Because if there's a disconnect between the two, you can nab whoever you want off the street or, bring the ISIS brides over, and all of a sudden they're out in the community and, either themselves, their kids, or maybe their husbands, they'll come out as well, and they'll cause all merry hell here too. So there has to be some logic and common sense to it. And at the moment, we're all away with, the system is all away with the fairies. There is no solid construct here.
Can you stay for a while?
I can stay for a little bit, yeah.
Okay, the great John Bruni, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. John from Sage International and the Focus podcasts. I'll run through the menu and tell you who's coming up on the program. Former Premier Dean Brown will be with us at about 10:30. Stay for that. Here come the Pips.
You're listening to the Court of Public Opinion with Jeremy Cordeaux, where the time is 10 a.m. Australian Central Standard Time.
Hey! What's the weather for the weekend gonna be? Will it be hot, cold, rain, snow?
And the weather today in Adelaide, it will be a partly cloudy day.
You may not find us on your TV, because in case you did not know, we're being brought to you on. Brought to you on. Brought to you by RADI.
I missed the forecast. What did it say? Well, partly cloudy, I suppose. Yeah, but it's a nice day. What was it? It always says partly cloudy. Well, it is winter. That's all right. I'll introduce you to Professor Michael Notel from the Queensland University in a second or two. But as I said, former Premier Dean Brown with us at about 10:30. Matthew Horder, interesting guy. He's written a book. Sadly, it's about his mother and father. The book is called The Day the Sky Fell, and John would be interested in this. It's a book about the long shadow cast by the destruction of the Malaysian Airlines flight MH17 and the enduring impact of sudden violent loss on one family, his family's life, which is all very sad. Grief and memory. Can you imagine trying to make some sort of sense out of somebody shooting down a commercial airliner like that? Just unbelievable. And, Scott Smith's got to drop by. He's got a book out. We talked about it before, the South Australian Picture Theatre and Drive-Ins book, which is an amazingly big, beautifully prepared, beautifully, what can I call it, published, I suppose, book. It's beautifully presented. We'll talk about that later. He's got 1,000 stories. He really has. Give us a ring if you'd like to. 0491 65 68 60 is the telephone number. We would just love to have you on the show. Caroline just brought me the book, which we got last week. It's a hell of a big book, I tell you. Full of lovely pictures and nostalgia, and if you've got memories of the movies, the cinema, the drive-ins in particular, it will be a lovely book to buy and keep. And it's a coffee table book. As I say, beautifully written and beautifully presented. The Court of Public Opinion, ladies and gentlemen, that's what we call the program. JeremyCordeaux.com, all around the world. And wherever you're listening to the program, we go everywhere. We get calls from all sorts of interesting places. Some 11 million of you. Thank you. God knows how you find us, but we are very grateful that you did. Associate Professor Michael Notel, University of Queensland. It's the School of Psychology, the facility or the Faculty of Health, Medicine and Behavioural Science. Golly. Professor, how are you?
Jeremy, well, thank you.
Wonderful to talk to you.
Lovely to chat to you too.
How do you manage to be an expert on all of that?
Well, look, I try to be an expert on finding out what works, and I try to apply that to wherever we've got a really big, important problem. And look, you can't be an absolute expert on everything, but sometimes the methods that I've tried to pick up have been able to be applied in a whole range of domains.
Professor, I've got Gary and Tony.
Morning, Professor.
And Dr. John Bruni as well. They might jump in, so if you hear a different voice, you'll know you're among friends.
Okay, great.
You're also an expert on artificial intelligence.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is one of the most pressing problems that humanity's facing, figuring out a lot about how we navigate the next, 5 or 15 years. And I think it's really urgent that more people think about how we we manage all of the risks that are coming, because they're coming so fast that I think a lot of industries and governments are being caught at a bit of a standstill.
Are there some areas you reckon where artificial intelligence just should not be allowed?
Look, I think that we're pretty good at society of figuring out where the taboos should be. Like, I think all of us know that we shouldn't be using AI to make pornographic images of people without their consent, right? Mm-hmm. I think that we agree that it, shouldn't be able to do mass domestic surveillance, right? Where the government can just scrape all of the telephone records and all of the emails and then try to, do a bit of a minority report and predict crimes before they happen. Like that, we're quite good at those sorts of taboos. I think we're less good when there's like really strong commercial interest to try to get a technology that makes lots of money and put regulations around it when it sort of might be, might stoke fear of slowing down the economy or something, or economic growth. So I think we're going to figure out how to manage the privacy concerns, the copyright, all of that sort of stuff. I'm a little more scared that we won't know how to manage, one company that controls just some massive swathe of the economy, or how Australia is going to manage if all of the biggest AI companies are in the US and we don't have any intellectual labor to contribute anymore. Like, these are the sorts of problems I'm quite nervous that we won't figure out.
Well, Dr. John is an expert on international affairs and things military and things naval and things political. Now, what happens if AI gets involved in defence?
Oh, it already is very deeply involved.
Can it be trusted? Can it be trusted?
Well, at the moment, yes, because there's always a human being at the end of the kill chain, although there are questions being raised in places like the Pentagon and in various other European capitals as to whether or not that's going to continue, because now the evolution of warfare is based on how quickly we can deploy artificial intelligence out there, and can the human operator step away from the permissive aspect of pressing the button? Can we trust the AI to do that by itself? Now, this is a debate that's happening all over the world, but I don't think we've got a clear answer to this. And I will ask, Michael, if you don't mind, the world is divided between three potential AI paths. You've got the wild frontier in the United States where anything goes and there's no regulation at all. You've got the Europeans that are so full of regulation that it's actually strangling their AI capacities in terms of entering the market. And then you've got the autocratic model that the Chinese are standing by, and they're now starting to field robots for policing and paramilitary capacities and stuff like that. Which of the three do you think Australia will ultimately follow? Because we're a consumer of this stuff. We're not a creator. Will we jump on board with the American Wild West, or do you think we're going to be more European as time goes on, attempting to regulate things that give us a bit of social heartburn?
That's a really good question. I think there are some risks in over-regulating, especially in areas that aren't that big of a concern, right? Like, I think there's a world in which Australia would be a really good place for us to have data centers. And if we put too many regulations around data centers, then, that's a huge chunk of our economic growth that could get cut off. And like the environmental damage from data centers is overblown. A lot of it comes from tubers that have major mathematical problems in them. And so I think there are some risks that we might get too European, to use your analogy. Yeah. I think the American challenge is an interesting one, because I don't think Americans want AI to take over as well, right? Like, if an AI takes over, or there's a, we lose control and there's a biological weapon, like, Americans get hurt too. And so I think there is I think the fear that the Americans have is that if they put regulation on their industry, that the third group you talked about, the autocratic governments, are going to take over, right? Or like win the AI race. And so I hope that, Australia, as someone who has a good relationship with both China and the US, can kind of help broker a relationship here. I was quite excited to hear the other day that President Trump and Xi Jinping are open to having conversations about putting some guardrails around the most severe risks. And so I think, we have been able to navigate this kind of technological advancement in the past with, airlines used to crash a lot and cars accidents used to happen a lot. And we'd put in sort of some sane regulations that mean we can still drive and fly, but knowing that, the car's not going to explode or the plane's not going to crash. And I think we need to be careful not to go too far, especially around the risks that don't really matter that much in comparison to the ones where, people who have won Nobel Prizes are saying in AI are saying we could lose control and this could kill all of us with more than a 10% chance. And that 10% chance would not be tolerated in any other industry, from food to pharmaceuticals. So we just need to walk the tightrope that you're talking about.
This budget, though, might do something about startups. People might be a little bit reluctant in Australia to, start something up, knowing that there won't be the capital gain at the end that they were expecting, and indeed that people around this table here enjoyed and profited from.
Yeah, look, I haven't really thought too carefully about the way that this particular budget might stifle innovation. I still think, investing in a startup has very high expected value, right? Like there's a lot of chance that your startup's going to fail. But a lot of people have been able to build pretty incredible things, for example, using AI in the back end to solve problems that the big AI companies aren't solving themselves. And those can be incredibly profitable. This is the promise of AI, is that if we can, keep the tail risks down, like the risks of, something really bad happening, a huge cybersecurity event, for example. And there might be lots of flourishing startups in all of these areas that we want. There could be health startups, but, that could solve a whole lot of problems that we've got. The issue is that, so look, there is some risk that, these budgetary pressures might change, but honestly, I think at the end of the day, the upside from startups is so strong that the changes to the capital gain is probably relatively modest, having spoken to a few people who are in this space at the moment.
Gary? Oh, do you want to?
Oh, yes. Sorry. I would want to touch on a couple of things that you've raised. The first one is the notion of, this is now a multi-trillion-dollar, or will be a multi-trillion-dollar enterprise moving forward. It's almost like a bottomless bucket in terms of how much money the tech bros in Silicon Valley are going to make out of this, and various other places around the world that are dabbling with AI. You talk about people and societies being very commonsensical and being able to put rational laws forward, but where are those rational laws coming from? Because I'm not seeing it. And I will take a very mundane aspect, and that is education. Education, I've got young kids at school. They're all now running around with computers and laptops and, iPads and whatever. And they're very good at doing that. But of course, with algorithmic AI being as it is, the idea of cheating, the idea of original work, the idea of teachers being able to stay on top of a lot of this technology that's being rolled out without much thought, what kind of damage do you see happen as a consequence of really not having any barriers or no social controls over this level of technology? I don't see it. You must be seeing something that I'm not seeing. And I'd like you to sort of unpack that.
Yeah, good question. So I guess what I'm seeing is that education's never been perfect, and there's been a lot of problems with it for a long time. I think AI is putting in a whole lot of challenges. I have had to stop giving essays as an academic. Academics love giving essays. It's kind of our full-time sport. And, I think there's no point asking students to do a written reflection anymore or get them to write an essay about some topic, because AI can do it so well. Now, it doesn't mean we don't want people to write. It doesn't mean we don't want them to think in writing. I've just had to start putting my writing into an exam where I can watch them doing the writing themselves rather than outsourcing their thinking. And I guess what I'm seeing is that I think most educators are seeing what I'm seeing. I know some schools are removing tech from their classroom so that than they were 5 years ago, because they realize if there is an iPad and there's an AI behind it, then students are offloading all of their thinking. I think there's a lot of teachers who won't. They'll take the lazy mode. They'll still put in essays in their curriculum, and that's a problem. But I guess I'm sort of looking at the reality that there's always been pretty average teachers around, and that's a problem we've been trying to solve, and we will continue to work on it. I guess I'm not saying all of those things are not problems. I really sympathize with that. I think that we just have a bit of an immune system that tries to solve them, and we've been constantly kind of fighting this tug of war between technology on one hand, making some types of education more difficult, and everybody who genuinely sees those problems and wants to fix them immediately. My recollection was that people were worried that TV and radio were going to destroy education. I think it was Socrates or Aristotle who said that writing was going to destroy education because you would no longer have to remember things, and just without paper. And, I guess I'm not saying that AI is not going to change education in a seismic way. I know writing did too. I just think that we are relatively good at managing those kinds of disruptions, and we're much less good at managing the sort of disruption where like the reason why those companies are worth trillions of dollars is because they are hoping to take all white collar work in the next 5 years. Like that's their ambition, and that's why companies are investing so much in this. And I don't know if we're ready for that, because the American government would quite like AI to be that powerful because it's obviously incredibly profitable.
But Michael, if we're rushing toward this uncertain outcome, and it's based on what we were discussing earlier, a cold war between AI systems, delivery systems, whether autocratic or free range or whatever you want to call it, the regulatory European style. People are running toward it at a full clip because it is a cold war. The Americans want to be on top, the Chinese want to be on top, the Europeans want to, exercise whatever control they have got. And so where does that leave us? Because if people are making money, if there is a technical cold war happening in terms of the rollout of AI, where are the guardrails? I don't see them. Again, you talk about them, but I don't see them. No. And I'd like to get more, of a nuanced kind of, all right, well, John, you're not seeing X, Y, and Z happen, because so far from the people that I've spoken to in the field, it's like, hey, it's all gung-ho, and we'll find out when we find out.
No, I maybe I misexpressed myself. I agree that the current guardrails are absolutely insufficient. And as I was sort of saying, like, if the risks from AI were in any other industry, every plane in the world would be grounded, right? If the risks were that high. I think one of the problems that we're doing is we're putting guardrails in areas that are important, but they're not catastrophic risks. So Queensland's putting in a law to outlaw the creation of deepfakes. That makes sense. I agree that we should do that. And it's just not a catastrophic risk that's going to kill everybody. And so we certainly need more guardrails. But the guardrails that we put in should not just be on the most immediate thing that comes to our mind. They really should be carefully chosen in a way that stops the most extreme risks. So as a concrete example, the most of this risk comes from really 5 companies, right, which is the 5 frontier model companies like OpenAI and Anthropic, pushing the frontier so far and so fast without any regulation on them. So there's currently nothing really stopping them just kind of hitting the accelerator. Now, having an international agreement that frontier companies should have, say, someone external do the evaluations to see if their models are safe would be pretty common sense. That's the way that we manage risk in the financial industry. You're not allowed to run a bank without someone else looking at your books to make sure you're not doing something that's risky. And that sort of thing would be very sensible here, to have some sort of third-party evaluation. There might be some people have proposed, that we just don't create something smarter than humans unless we can prove that it's safe and there's broad democratic buy-in. And that got a huge amount of support, and that's very publicly popular. There's 5 companies who would not like that because, that's their explicit mission, is to create something smarter than us. But, given the risks involved, I think that it is plausible that we could get an international agreement that we don't want to create things that are smarter than humans unless we can prove that they're safe. Now, how we enforce that requires a bunch of technical things like controlling where the chips go. I think certainly having the chip export controls from the US to China made a lot of sense because it increased the margin that we could spend on safety, increased the margin in the race. You got time to put a seatbelt on when you're an extra 200 meters down the racetrack. So I think there are some mechanisms here. It's hard for Australia because the main thing we can do is try to broker international agreements. And that's difficult for like the state government of Queensland to do. But there are conversations about what those agreements would look like, and those would fix the biggest kind of problems.
Something else I know you're interested in is this charity transparency. Tell me about that.
Well, I think it's great how many Australians give to charity. I think we give half per person compared to New Zealand, so we've still got a little bit to go if we want to more charitable than our neighbours. But I think that a lot of us try to have an impact with that charity. We really want to know that the money that we're giving is helping those that that we're hoping to help. But there really isn't a lot of transparency from charities about how much impact they're having. And that just means that there's so much impact left on the table. We could do so much more good with our money if we knew what it was achieving.
Well, why do you suppose that we don't have that transparency? Could it be that they don't want us to see?
I think that's not necessarily a bad answer. I think the hard thing is that a lot of charities don't know how impactful they are. They, for example, might, one of the classic examples here is that if you were trying to, they're like, we should give textbooks. Now, the thing is that a lot of charities don't know how impactful textbooks are, or they might have a reputation for giving out textbooks without realizing that it's really not that effective. A lot of people don't need textbooks. They're not going to school in the first place because they've got worms. What they actually need is deworming treatment. Yeah. And if you look at the evidence, things like deworming is like 1,000 times more effective than giving textbooks. But it's not very convenient for the textbook charity to say, by the way, we're not really doing that much good. So I think they do obfuscate a little bit, and it's expensive to measure it. And, it's quite hard for charities to change their mind and say, we were doing textbooks and now we're doing deworming, because, the donors will get confused about, why was I giving the textbooks in the first place?
Wouldn't the most pertinent piece of information be how much of every dollar you give to this charity actually goes to the cause?
You might think that. And look, I think that to some extent that does matter. There are some charities where only 20% ends up going to the cause, and that's obviously obscene. But if I sort of think about why you might worry about that, it's because if you think it's going to management or think you think it might be reducing the exactly. You think it might be reducing the impact it has. So really what you care about isn't the overhead, it's the impact. What you care about is that is it making someone's life better? And sometimes high administration can reduce that impact. But I don't think enough about is how impactful the actual program is that is being delivered. Yeah. So as one example, the US government gives a lot of money to foreign aid, and some of it's like workforce training programs, trying to help people start businesses and stuff. But they weren't sure it was working, so they actually tried just giving the cash to the people instead of training them. And cash was better across almost all metrics that they measured. And so we don't often think about how impactful this is. We don't think about, is it better than just giving the person the money? And I think that's the question that matters most, is this charity making a difference? And how well can they prove it to you? And just giving you the cherry-picked glossy sort of images of a cute kid and sort of telling you that it works without giving you any real data. We wouldn't buy that in medicine. And there's a bunch of psychological biases that make it hard when it comes to charity. But I guess I expect the same evidence of the charities that I give to than I do of my doctor who's giving me a treatment too. Mm.
Yeah, those ads that you see endlessly, mostly on daytime television, they're ads for animal cruelty, and they are produced slick, and you think to yourself, okay, now I hate the idea of this bear living in that cage all its life and being poked and being bled of its bile and all of those things. It's very emotive, and I can see people saying, well, I'll give my $5 a week. I'll do that. But I really think there's no way we can check up and see who is behind that charity. We don't know whether the money that you give, $5 every week, is going to do anything.
I certainly think it's too hard for us mug punters to make that decision, right? If we're giving to charity, the amount of effort that's involved in figuring out whether that, animal welfare charity is doing a good job is so high. What is available, which most people don't know about, is that there's independent evaluators. So for animal welfare, there's this place called Animal.
Yeah.
And they go and find the ones that actually are making the biggest difference for animals. For global health and poverty, there's GiveWell. For almost all charity types, there are people who actually look at the research for you and find where is this going to go the furthest. And so sometimes that leads to counterintuitive conclusions.
Yep.
But yeah, you can't do this yourself. It's too hard. So I guess I think it's nice that we get that emotional pull to help others from the glossy ad, but I think we should also try to direct it in the place that is helping the most animals or people. And I think it's too hard for us to make that judgment by ourselves. So have a look at the charity evaluators that actually look at the research for you, in the same way that you ask a doctor to look at the research about how to best treat your health.
You were talking about guardrails before with regard to AI. I mean, what really are the guardrails for charity? Because last time I looked, it was a $222 billion a year industry.
Yeah. Look, there is the ACNC, which is the charity regulator.
Yeah.
And they just make sure that, you say that you're doing what you said you were going to do.
Yeah.
And they do sort of hold the registration, meaning like so full disclosure, I'm on the board of a charity, but for us to get registered, they were the ones who gave us the tick or the rubber stamp.
Yeah.
But being honest, they don't look at our charity to be like every year and say, how much impact you're doing. They don't ask us for any trials about whether it's working or not.
No.
They're just making sure that we're not buying a yacht with it, And so, but even then, we get externally audited and sort of most charities, and that's also to make sure that we're not buying yachts. But it really doesn't, it doesn't critique us. If we spend a lot of money on fundraising, which we don't for the record, but some do, they don't care. They don't sort of necessarily critique that.
Do you think there should be a law that says, you can't spend too much or any more than this on advertising and promotion? And, oh, by the way, you must give a public accounting as to how successful we are at what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think a law is one option. I'm not sure. I haven't really thought through the consequences of that, because in the same way that we want, startup companies, sometimes small charities turn into big charities and they can end up doing a big difference. And I don't know how to manage the two things. Yeah. I just think we as people who want to be generous and really want to make people's lives better as a result, there's some degree of skepticism is okay. But I don't think that should stop us from giving, because we can save a life for $5,000. That's well spent on our last holiday. And that means certifiably saving a life. When people say you can save one for 50 cents, that's a lie. That isn't true. But, you can find really effective charities if you have a look at places like GiveWell. And they've got so much due diligence on how impactful different interventions are. And so I guess what I'm saying to people is, use that urge to give and to make the world a better place. Don't let the doubt get in your way, because there are ways of finding out for sure where you can have an impact. And do be skeptical of the options.
Don't be too cynical. You've given us a lot of wonderful time, Professor. Just before you go, you talked about the essay and how useless it was these days. What do you replace the essay with in your lecture hall?
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, my students are completing an assessment at the moment where they're given a controversial topic and they have to argue both sides of it so well. I don't know what side they started on. And I think that really tests their critical thinking. It tests whether they can, not just fight for their party line or, debate from one side. Do they really understand this topic well enough that someone from either side thinks they're treating it fairly? Yeah. And I think things like that test students' critical thinking much better than an essay did in the first place. So in some ways, necessity is the mother of invention. And I think it's the case, at least in my classroom.
God bless you, Professor. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy. Lovely chatting to all of you. Bye for now.
Wonderful to talk to you. Professor Michael Notel, University of Queensland, School of Psychology, Faculty of Health, Medicine and Behavioural Science. I don't know how he fits all of that into one single day.
Can't find a friend, you still got the radio. Singing with the radio. Can't find a friend, you still got the radio. The radio. Listen to the radio. The radio. Listen to the radio. Still got the radio. Listen to the radio. The radio. Listen to the radio. The radio. Listen to the radio.
Happy birthday if you're having a birthday today, by the way. It's nearly 10:30 in Central Australia, wherever you're listening to this program. It is very good to have you with us. It's the 22nd, and I will tell you why it's such a sad day for radio later on in the program. It's a very interesting day in history too, which we will also get to later on in the day. I'm getting another cup of tea. Thank you. Thank you, Caroline. And former I'm going to call you Premier anyway, because I think it's an office that once held, you always hold. Premier Dean Brown, welcome to the table.
Thank you, Jeremy. Good to be with you again.
Wonderful to see you.
After many years.
Yeah, I know. I remember
we used to have regular discussions.
We certainly did. And at the time of an election, there would be a kind of a head-to-head debate.
Yes.
They were good fun.
They were.
Yeah, I don't know about politics these days. It ain't what it used to be, but then again, what in the world is?
It's changed.
Yeah.
Quite dramatically.
What made you a Liberal?
Belief in the individual having as much say as possible.
Yeah, and control?
And control, yes.
Yeah. Yes, the individual rather than the collective.
It's about personal freedom.
Yes. Do you think the Liberal Party is as focused on these fundamental things today as they were when you were the Premier?
I think the Liberal Party has strayed from some of its beliefs, fundamental beliefs. They come back time to time. John Howard, I think, captured it extremely well.
Yes. Well, you ran, obviously, a disciplined, tight and, I don't know what you'd call it, ethical ship. You know, it can be done.
Exactly. Eliminated debt in Australia.
Yeah.
The national debt, which is now, what, $1
trillion dollars, yeah.
Unbelievable.
And it was only
and set up the Future Fund with $200 billion.
Yep, gone. But it was only last month, I think it was the 22nd of last month, that was the anniversary that 20 years ago Costello had in fact paid off all the national debt.
Yeah.
We were totally debt-free. What a wonderful position to be in.
And people felt the freedom of being able to spend money without the government imposing very heavy taxes on them.
Yeah.
That was the remarkable thing. It was done without imposing new taxation.
Yes. It was just good management and control on spending.
Exactly.
And why can't these people do it? It's out of control, or it looks like it's out of control.
Well, I think it is. And the classic example of that is NDIS.
Yes, I know. Yeah. Why do we allow ourselves to be rorted like that? And I saw these people stand up there and talk about the NDIS being in the hands of criminals and organised crime, almost as though they were bystanders. They allowed this to happen under their watch, but don't seem to take responsibility.
But it's also the professional people who deliver services to the people with disability.
Yes.
And they keep, on behalf of the person they're treating, keep saying they need more of this and more of that.
Yeah.
More home visits and more home care.
Yeah, that's the rot.
No guardrails.
I know of one case where someone with a disability, mild Down syndrome,
yes,
couldn't work. His care plan's gone from being in the 90s to now 280,000.
Yes. But every time government gets involved in something like this, the prices go up, whether it's childcare or aged care, whatever it is.
Well, with NDIS, we were at a friend's house a year or two ago for a barbecue, and Mike said, such and such is about to go on his annual NDIS trip to Sydney. I said, excuse me? He's going there with his carer. Last year they went to the Gold Coast. Oh, right. Okay, so you get a free holiday
on
NDIS with your carer, if you're a bit autistic, on our dime.
Yes.
We just looked at it. We got into the car, me and Helen looked at it. Do you believe what we just heard?
How would you fix it, Premier?
I'd require all people. I sat on the board of a company, not-for-profit company called Skills IQ, which was about developing training packages.
Yes.
And we put in a submission when the NDIS was first started to operate.
Yes.
And we said that all the participants, all the suppliers should be registered.
Yes, yes.
So that you know where the money's going. And we put in a range of other protections as well.
Yeah. So could it be that these provisions are not there on purpose?
Well, I think the federal governments, and it runs over several governments, were negligent in the administration of it. It's just got out of hand.
What do you think of this present government?
I shouldn't repeat that on air.
I want
I think they are destroying incentive within Australia.
Yes, we were talking about that earlier.
Indeed.
You can't imagine anyone sort of wanting to start up a business in Australia, but I can imagine that the New Zealanders will be over here trumpeting the advantages of crossing the ditch.
Don't say Trump.
Look, people have foregone holidays and special events, etc., to save some money, and now they're being penalised for doing so.
Yes.
And I think it'll kill incentive, it'll kill innovation.
That they introduced this budget, I mean, it's only a piece of paper at the moment, it's not law, and maybe there's some chance that they will change it before it gets to be discussed and passed, but that they would come up with something like this tells us a lot about them, doesn't it?
It does, and particularly about the Treasurer and the Prime Minister.
Yes.
Because they're the two people who would formulate the budget, or three people, the Treasurer, the Finance Minister and the Prime Minister.
Yeah. Short of just chucking it out, what do we do?
It's as if they float an idea, see what the reaction is, then make the decision, mainly because they're incompetent at making a decision to start with.
Yeah, but it's straight out Karl Marx, isn't it?
I think
it's ideologically driven, yes.
I think the left wing of the Labor Party, which is now becoming dominant, has always had these ambitions.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, the fact that they with the Bill Shorten election, that was the unlosable election.
Yes. They put it up there.
Yeah, they had a...
And their thinking hasn't changed.
But the public had an opportunity to embrace it, and they didn't. They rejected it. So as a little piece of market research, this government could have said, well, just looking at that election, we better not do this. But no.
Here's a story, Jeremy and Dean, in the Financial Review that dropped last night. Perth couple flee Australia's taxes for entrepreneur-friendly EU. Basically, they went to get an Irish passport. They're going to go to Ireland, build their business there where there's no taxes, and we miss out.
Corporate tax.
There's another story. There's another example.
Yeah, corporate tax in Ireland is 12%, I believe.
That's right.
Well, no wonder they're attracting business. What are we going to do with 60%?
We have the highest corporate tax, or one of the highest corporate taxes in the world at 30%.
Well, we didn't have a capital gains tax. New Zealand doesn't have a capital gains tax. We didn't have one until Hawke introduced it in 1985. what's to say the Liberals couldn't just stand up and say, well, elect us and we'll get rid of it altogether. We'll go back to what we were doing before that.
I'd have to look at some figures to see to what extent that
could work.
Well, Labor would say it's not affordable.
what
but that's
that would do to the budget.
Yeah, well, that's only because they waste so much money.
Yeah.
But I think what the Liberals have done, what Taylor has done, is right, saying that we'll index the tax thresholds to keep up with inflation.
Well, if inflation is this awful cancer of the currency that eats away at the value of the dollar in our pocket, why can't we claim the inflation rate as a tax deduction? Now, why I say that, if I'm making money from my investment, they'll tax me on that. However, if I'm losing money and my money is less valuable tomorrow than it is today, and it's not my fault, it's a loss. I should be able to claim my losses.
In other words, offsetting.
Well, they wouldn't dare do that.
So if you have bank interest, you only pay tax on the bit above inflation. So
that's the real value.
Tax, company income tax is based on the profit.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
But not on the loss.
But but they're responsible for the loss caused by inflation. That's their baby. Yeah, well, we live in interesting times. Premier, who was the greatest influence politically on you? Who did you look up to? Who was your hero?
Tom Playford.
Ah, yes.
I knew Tom when I first went into Parliament in 1973.
Yeah.
Tom had at that stage retired.
Yeah.
But he used to come in to the members' dining room on Friday afternoons and have lunch and would sit there and talk to anyone who wanted to listen and give what I'd call the parables according to Playford.
Yes. But a man who had good experience and a fine track record.
And he'd talk about under this circumstance, under this crisis or whatever, this is what he did.
Yeah.
And I would sit there for 2 hours, 3 hours.
322 people today in the Premier's department. In Tom Playford's day, there were 3.
That's right.
And they actually did stuff back then.
He had his appointment secretary.
Yes.
Who was a retired serviceman.
Yes.
He had his driver.
Was that one of them had only one arm, his Batman from the First World War, I think, wasn't it?
And he had a young lad who used to run the messages.
Yes. You see, look, that's all we need. We've got spin doctors now. Did you ever have a spin doctor?
Yes. Well, we had. I've called him a press secretary.
Yeah.
The media would ring him, and he would ring me, and arrange for me to ring the media. Yeah.
But my memory is that you had a very good relationship with the media.
I tried to maintain that. Yes.
And you were available. You made yourself available
directly.
Yes.
But we didn't believe in so-called spin.
No.
Been invented yet.
No, the word didn't.
American thing, really, spin.
Well, if you're going to hire all those spin doctors, you can't expect them to do anything but spin. You're going to get a lot of spin. That's their job. What's the hardest thing about being a premier?
I think the challenge is all the issues that keep coming in every day. When you're a premier, there would be 5 or 6 major issues, which the public wouldn't know about largely. And you've got to make decisions. You can't put it off until tomorrow.
Yes.
Otherwise, you've got 10 in front of you. And if you put it off another day, that's 15. So you've got to deal with issues.
What's the worst thing about it? I mean, you don't have much privacy, do you?
Probably the demands on your time are critical.
What sort of hours in the day would it take to be a good premier?
Well, I often used to be still signing documents and that. I'd go to a function at night, get home at 10:30, talk to my wife and sit down with her for
and she remembered you.
cup of tea or something. I'd tell her all the things that had gone wrong during the day, or all the problems, not what had gone wrong, all the problems. I'd then go and sit down and prepare for the next day, sign documents, etc., often until after midnight, sometimes until 1, 2 o'clock in the morning.
People don't realise that.
People don't realise that, no.
And my wife would wake up in the morning, I'd go to bed and sleep like a log. And she'd wake up, get up in the morning and say, well, I think you ought to do this, and this. And I said, well, it's okay.
When you were signing
Thank
those
you for
papers,
solving the problems.
Yeah, well, I'm sure a premier needs help, some help that he can trust.
Not like Nancy Reagan reading the tea leaves for Ronald Reagan.
well. Did you have a problem?
What are we going to do today?
Now, don't talk over each other, fellas. Did you have any trouble sort of trusting people around you?
No. You've got to put your hands or your trust in them.
Yes. So you've got to pick them carefully in the beginning.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, to the extent that you can.
Yeah. What do you think of women in politics?
I support it.
Yeah.
I think they bring a different perspective.
Yeah.
And Diana Laidlaw was in my cabinet.
Yes.
And did an excellent job in transport, in the arts.
Yeah.
A superb job in the arts.
The thing about a male, though, just as a journalist or somebody who was privileged enough to sort of be able to interview people at the top, it's always struck me that the male speaks with authority. The female speaks with empathy and understanding. You probably need both of those working together.
You do.
But the leader has a particular role which requires probably more authority than empathy. I don't know. It's the thought.
I think a leader has to give the direction you're going.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need an authority.
Yeah.
As a leader to be effective.
You were talking about signing papers, endless signing papers. Did you read them all?
I would read the relevant parts.
Yeah.
Sometimes, because most of the papers would come with a 2-page summary, they will have been checked by one of your senior staff members before it came to me. And they would write their opinion. I would read the 2-page summary or 3-page summary and the recommendations, but sometimes not the 20 or 30 pages. But I'd also then, I might, if there was some doubt, go through that paper thoroughly.
How many times would you send it back and say, let's do that again? I don't like that. I'm going to put my name to that.
Well, a classic case of that was when I was health minister.
Yeah.
And I received a letter from the Mitcham Rotary Club asking would I support Indigenous health scholarships on a dollar-for-dollar basis. If the Rotary Club put in $2,500 to train a doctor, an Indigenous person as a doctor, would the state back that with another $2,500? And the recommendation came through from the department to say no. And I said, but we've just put $100,000 aside in the budget to train Indigenous health workers.
Yeah.
Because I believe that the biggest single impact you can make on an Indigenous community is to have Indigenous people delivering the health services as opposed to Europeans.
Yeah.
And so I told the department to reverse it. And not only did we say we'd supplement it $2,500. But we then went on to say, in fact, you can get other Rotary clubs to sponsor scholarships as well, up to the tune of $100,000 from the state government. Now, that has been picked up nationally. I then took it to the Health Minister's national meeting, and I think about 3 other states adopted the same idea. And today there's something like 450 to 500 people, fully qualified Indigenous health workers out there in the field.
Something is wrong out there in the Pitjantjatjara lands or, Northern Territory, Queensland, Western Australia, South Australia, with this outbreak of diphtheria. That's a disease that is almost Dickensian. For it to come back, and I listened to one commentator, he was an expert, and he said it's caused by overcrowding in the housing area because you might find 14 people living in the one house.
But also, it must be poor vaccination rates.
Yes. But on top of all of that, if you think about, I don't know what the budget would be, the federal budget for Aboriginal affairs would be $40 billion or something like that.
I couldn't put a figure on it, but it's huge.
It's huge. Now, if you divided that, the population is about 700,000 who are Aboriginal or claim to be Aboriginal. 700,000, and of course among that 700,000 there are very successful Aboriginal businessmen and women. So they're not all in desperate straits. But if you divided that budget between the people, it would make each and every Aboriginal man, woman and child very wealthy. Yet clearly you look around and you see it's the Aboriginal industry that's flourishing. The money's not getting to the people.
It's a bit like the NDIS.
Yes.
$57,000 a year it works out.
How much?
$57,000 a year.
$57,000 a year. It's $1,000 a week. And if you've got 14 people in the house, it's $14,000 a week. Anyway, it's a problem. Who we got on the line?
Good morning, Jeremy. It's John.
Hello, John. I've got Premier Dean Brown with me.
Premier Dean Brown, congratulations. He was a good premier in his time.
Yep. He was a good premier. John says you're a good premier.
Yeah.
Thank you, John.
That's all right. You're talking about this diphtheria. I've just been listening.
Yeah.
Right? Now, Pat, as you know, worked in medical rooms, and it was a standard practice that once a child was about 12 months old, they got a combined diphtheria tetanus needle. And they used to have a book for it through mothers and babies.
Yeah, well, that's the way it was because you had the triple antigen, I think it was.
Yeah, it was. And Pat's wondering, have they dropped off? Have they left that behind? See, the trouble is we've got, and I'm not correct, but some politicians at the federal level, right, are trying to dictate to the doctors what should be and what shouldn't be.
I don't know, Dean. That the triple antigen, the needle that babies have, that is still done. That's common practice, isn't it?
Yes, and even for adults.
Yes.
I think the recommendation is every 5 to 10 years you should have a booster for diphtheria. And I think that's combined with a tetanus
that's right.
vaccine as well.
Yeah.
And so you should have the two. My wife went and checked our status only yesterday.
It's a wise thing to do because the whole vaccination thing only works if 90% of the population is vaccinated.
And that's why it's so important, not only for the Indigenous community, but for the whole community.
But I don't know, John, I talk to people all the time who are anti-vaxxers, and I don't know where that came from. They're usually young and they're well-educated. They should know better.
Look at America.
They should.
Look at America today.
Yeah.
Where Kennedy, the health minister,
yes, indeed,
anti-vaccination.
Yes, we've had him on the program, and he's quite a character.
Another point I want to raise, Jeremy, is Angus Taylor seems hell-bent that we should be fracking down in the southeast, and I agree with the people of the southeast. We need to keep our noses right out of that area. It's good, fertile country area for growing our produce, if you like.
Yeah.
And we don't need to be tampering with it down there.
It's tricky politically.
I think Angus Taylor was supporting fracking generally.
Yes.
Not specifically in the southeast. I'd have to have a look at what he said.
But rather clever of both Pauline and Angus to sort of say, well, we're going to leave that as a local issue to the local people who are trying to get into office.
Which I support.
Yes. It's a sensible way to walk both sides of the street if you can.
I'm not opposed to fracking. In fact, I support it.
Yeah.
But there are some areas where it's probably better not to frack.
Yes.
And because of the water in the Blue Lake, etc.,
yes,
which the town uses,
yes,
they're unsure of exactly where that comes from.
Yeah, I believe they should just keep their noses out of that area. We've got plenty of other places in the state where they can go drilling and trying to find, gas supplies.
But I agree entirely that we need to look for more gas.
Yeah,
and oil.
We do. And Jeremy, last week I rang and I forgot to mention something to you, and I find this disturbing. The Prime Minister was down in Hobart last week, and he managed to talk a couple of senators to join the ALP to shore up his vote at federal level to pass some of his policies.
Well, it shouldn't surprise you to see a politician playing politics.
Well, no, I know it shouldn't surprise me, but, I'm trying to think. Tammy Tyrrell, I think, was the independent, and he's talked her into joining the ALP, and there was a Greens senator as well.
Yeah.
And that's only so that he can get his so-called bills through Parliament. And I, for one, don't believe that what they're trying to do with this negative gearing and cutting, if they cut small business out because of all these taxes that they want to bring in, where are we going to have jobs for our young people?
Exactly. If they disincentivise the entrepreneur and the risk taker, it will be a sad thing for this country. They've got to really revise that budget. But whether they will or not, who knows?
Yeah. Well, it's my bag for this week.
Thank you, John.
I just feel that, and thank you for that. And is what's your name, Gary, there with you as well?
Yeah, Gary's here.
Yeah, good morning, Gary.
You?
No, not bad, thank you. But no, it's something that's got to be addressed, and they really need to look at it. And the other thing is, they don't want to take no for an answer, even with our own premier in this state, with this tree felling through North Adelaide.
Yeah, I know.
He doesn't want to take no for an answer.
I know. Thank you, John. What do you think, Premier, of Premier Peter Malinauskas?
I think generally he's a good premier.
He'd make a good Liberal.
Yes.
See, he's sort of got that star quality that I'm sure these parties look for. But
I think he's got to listen to the people more, though.
Yes. Maybe he's listening to the wrong people.
Yeah.
There's no shortage of, I would imagine.
I'm very supportive of what he's doing in training, trade training.
Yeah.
He's established these 5 technical colleges and trying to rebuild the trades within South Australia and give job opportunities to young people.
As the Premier, you would have not had any shortage of people who wanted to give you advice, I imagine.
Very much so.
Yeah. Could you actually walk down the street without having somebody come up and say, Premier, listen, I've been meaning to write you a letter, but see, I've seen you here. I'll give you Did that sort of thing happen?
Very much so, particularly at country shows.
Yes.
I remember walking down the main street of Victor Harbour, which is my electorate.
Yeah.
And one afternoon, just as school came out, and 2 young lads there, one about 6 and one about 8, came down the street and said, "G'day, Dean, how are you?" I was by myself and I said, "I'm fine," and I chatted to them. And the youngest one, who's about 6, says, "My mum thinks you need to smile more on television."
Well, that was good advice.
Yeah. That's good. Fun times. We miss you, sir. You'll have to come back. Become Premier again.
I'd like to come back and talk about some of the things we did on your show.
Yeah, no, I'd love you to.
Because I think before the election, we worked very hard. I'm a firm believer that political parties for an election campaign have to lay out a plan what they want to achieve for the state for the next 4 years, 8 years, 10 years.
Yes.
And we put enormous effort into policy development with some long-term vision.
Were you a wet or a dry? I remember I've talked to John Howard about the fact that he hates the idea that factions got into the Liberal Party. Is that inevitable, or can you resist that sort of thing?
Well, I think if you're looking at what's best for the country, it's going to be a mix of both.
Yeah, okay. As long as you don't sort of have tension or arguments.
Exactly.
You know, as Hawke used to say, if you can't govern yourselves, you can't govern the country.
And I agree with him.
Yeah. Yep. Well, it's wonderful. A privilege to have you at the table, sir.
Thank you.
And how dare those little boys not call you sir? Thank you very much, Dean.
Good. Thank you, Jeremy.
Much appreciated.
Good to see you.
Premier Dean Brown.
The people understand that there's an answer, there's a way. We, the people, have to say. So send the orders to prepare that we, the people, do declare. Send the good news, send the word. We, the people, will be heard. We, the people, everywhere. We, the people, hand in hand. We, the people, understand that there's an answer, there's a way. We, the people, have to say. So send the orders to prepare that we, the people, do declare. Send the good news, send the word. We, the people, will be heard. We, the people, everywhere. We, the people, everywhere.
Good song to play after a former Premier visits the show, and we'll be getting Dean Brown back. I do promise you that. May the 22nd, as I mentioned to you, we've got Matthew Horder, who's written this. Well, it's a remarkable book. It's a book about the crash of MH17. And it's a crash, an aeroplane crash that took his mother and took his father, and obviously was an act of, well, I don't know, war, wanton destruction. Firing a missile at a passenger aeroplane. It's pretty hard to understand. 298 people killed, 27 of them Australians. Anyway, the book is called, what is the book called? It's called The Day the Sky Fell. And for Matthew's family, of course, it certainly was. Matthew will join us in a little while. I've lost Tony. Tony is gone. I think to feed the bird across the road. It's a very domestic situation here, ladies and gentlemen. May the 22nd. An auspicious day for radio. Sad day, as I said earlier, for radio. This is the day that the giant CBS radio network in the United States will close. 700... Oh, Tony's arrived with a glass of wine. Thank you, Tony. Oh, bless your heart. 700 radio stations, ladies and gentlemen, across the United States of America will cease broadcasting today. That is a very sad thing. And when asked, the CBS, which is Paramount, which is Channel 10 here in Australia, Paramount said, well, we had to close down the radio stations because people were not listening to them in sufficient numbers. Most people have gone to podcasting and live streaming, which is what we do. And the commercial, when you lose your audience, you lose your sponsorship as well, which is something that no one can really afford to do. Some other cheerier, more happy dates, which I'll give you in a little while. But we got Matthew Horder on the line, the author of The Day the Sky Fell. Matthew, how are you?
Good morning. I'm good. How are you?
Yes, I am fine. A remarkable thing, isn't it, that any country, and I'm assuming we have to lay the blame at the doors of Putin and Russia, that anyone could sanction the wanton destruction of an aeroplane and so much life?
Yeah, I think it's something that resonates with so many people because a lot of us do travel on commercial aircraft, and so it's really hard to make any sense of and reason of why and this sort of thing would happen in the first place or even be entertained in the first place.
It changed the world and changed certainly your world in an instant. Do you remember where you were when you got the news?
Absolutely. I was at home. I'd woken that it was a Friday morning, so around 6 a.m. And I'd had multiple missed phone calls from both of my brothers, which was a little odd. One brother lived in London, the other was in Melbourne. And I managed to get on to my brother in Melbourne, and he had trouble speaking at that stage. But he managed to sort of mutter out that he thinks Mum and Dad's planes crashed. And of course, my initial reaction wasn't that I didn't believe him, but it was almost disbelief.
Yes.
And while he was chatting or trying to talk, I turned on the TV, and it was the lead story across all the stations. It was the only story across all the stations, and I started to sort of check a few details, flight numbers, dates, times, all those things, and I said, look, it's adding up. I said, but I'll call you back, and that sort of set the tone for that day, and the next nearly 12 years.
For your mother and father, what was it, the great adventure overseas, or were they regular travellers?
So look, probably a little bit of both, but it certainly wasn't their first trip overseas. They'd travelled many times before. They enjoyed travel. That was something that they were doing. Certainly at this stage of their lives, they had, Dad had recently retired or was pretty much retired, and as was Mum. And as I mentioned, one of my brothers lived in London, so that was a reason to sort of travel to Europe. But yeah, it was just it was something that they did, something that, like I've sort of opened with, a lot of people do.
Yeah, well, an experience apparently or usually without any kind of risk.
Absolutely, yeah. Not this sort of risk, put it that way.
No.
Yeah.
Are you across exactly how they discovered that it was I don't know what sort of missile it was, but it was a missile deliberately aimed at the aeroplane.
It was a Buk missile.
Now, that's Russian, isn't it?
And, yeah, the missile came from Russia. So there was Russian-backed separatists occupying that, or trying to occupy that part of eastern Ukraine. And they had been in conflict since, around March 2014. At that stage, the Russian government denied any involvement, but the separatists were backed by Russian arms, and they had the separatists had asked for heavier artillery to shoot down aircraft, that not so much to target our aircraft necessarily, but shoot down other Ukrainian military aircraft. And the Russians supplied the Buk missile. It was operated by the separatists who perhaps weren't fully competent in using the missile and locked it onto to a commercial aircraft and shot it down.
Well, it would have been flying at Tony Denton is an expert in these sort of things because he's a...
let me guess, 980 kilometres an hour?
And what height?
40,000 feet.
So would it be reasonable to assume that on the ground you'd be able to recognise this as a passenger plane?
Maybe not. Well, what do you reckon? I think they probably look bigger than a military jet, yeah.
Have you gone into that at all, Matthew?
I haven't quite gone into that, but your numbers are pretty good. So they were at 33,000 feet on this particular occasion. And I mean, that's an interesting insight, Jeremy. I hadn't really sort of thought of it in that way, but generally speaking, you would say a commercial aircraft like that would look different to a military aircraft. So there'd be a point of difference for sure.
Wouldn't they pick up the ACAR's transmissions and all the ADSB and all that
What's
stuff?
an ACAR?
Oh, that's the VHF and microwave transmission of the aircraft.
Well, I suppose if they were being...
So you can work out the flight number, the height, all that information.
Well, if they cared and they were discriminating enough to check before they shot...
Well, that's what you'd normally do.
Yeah, well,
to make sure you don't shoot down the wrong thing.
Well, if you cared.
Well, that's right.
298 people, 27 Australians. I don't know. Do we know whether it was a sudden end or was there time for the people to understand what was going on in the aeroplane?
So I guess we'll probably never really know, but the way it's been explained to me, and I guess the way I like to think of it is that it was reasonably sudden. So a book missile will not necessarily hit the target directly. It detonates at the target and sends shrapnel into the aircraft, which pierces the fuselage, causes the plane to break up, lose compression, break up mid-flight and fall to the ground, which is what happened. And so at that point where the compression in the cabin is lost, it is most likely that every passenger was unconscious within a matter of seconds. So if there was any recollection of it, it'd be very minor. And then, of course, the fall from 33,000 feet to the ground was enough to kill everybody. So
you'd stop breathing virtually straight away at 35,000 feet, 33,000 feet, wouldn't you?
There's no time, the way the cabin broke up, there's no time for oxygen masks or any of that sort of stuff to sort of be deployed. Like you said, travelling at high speed, that would just be blowing through the cabin as well. It's most likely they didn't suffer. If they did, it wasn't for very long.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a coincidence, but there was on television here in South Australia last night a documentary on MH17. Did you know about that?
Oh, no.
Yeah. And it was quite graphic, not something probably because of your personal involvement that you should look at, because it was quite graphic and explicit. Dealing with the people who were on the ground trying to make sense of it all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was the compensation paid, or did they make any attempt to pay compensation to the people who lost family?
The short answer is no. So that's still, in terms of the Russian state, that's still a matter that's ongoing. But no, they haven't.
Are we saying they got away with it?
Look, you could probably say that, but it's still being pursued, I guess, and they're still being held to account. They're just not taking any accountability or responsibility. So to a point, so far they would appear to have gotten away with it, but we, authorities haven't given up chasing it either.
Well, in the court of public opinion, they won't get away with it.
So, no, absolutely not, and nor should anyone. It's just not. it's just not appropriate.
When did the book come out?
So my book, I launched it on the 18th of April, so it's pretty fresh. So what's that? Just over a month ago.
Yep.
It's a bit of a. I'd sort of go into, obviously Mum and Dad were on board that flight, so the whole MH17 component is a big part of it, but it's also about our experiences and my experiences and what we did. It's written in a bit of a memoir style. It sort of it humanises the story a little bit.
Do you feel it's something your mother and father would have wanted you to do?
So that's a really good question, and I'm not sure. I think Dad would have been probably pretty happy with it. It's the sort of thing he'd do. Mum was always a bit private and not so concerned about sort of probably sharing the details. So I think she would have been really happy that I wrote the book, but maybe cautious on publishing it. But I think ultimately they would be pretty proud of what the product is and how it's ended up, and ultimately what I've done around the book.
Did you find it hard to find a publisher?
So, well, I self-published, so I've done it that way. I haven't pursued a publisher too hard, so I didn't sort of go down that track in the end. I've just kept it myself.
Yeah. Is this your first book?
This is my first book. Yes.
What do you do for a living? What's your background?
So I'm a manager. I work in Queensland with Queensland government. So I manage our team who deliver infrastructure projects across Queensland. So it's a lot of project management, contract management.
So what did you think of your first writing experience? Did you enjoy it, or was it hard work?
So I'm going to say it's hard work. It's hard work in two fronts. One is obviously there's a very emotional, personal side to what I'm writing about, and that some days is just not easy. But also I found very important for me to sort of get those words out and get them down. So very beneficial as well. But writing in this style, so being, I guess, working in project management, contract management, you write very differently. It's reports and that sort of factual sort of stuff. So to sit down and write differently was also a challenge for me. I got some support through some mentoring training that I had around all of that, which helped me greatly, but definitely a big personal challenge.
Yeah. I would have thought it could have been a draining, very difficult thing for you to write.
Absolutely. That emotional side is very, very draining indeed, yep.
Yeah. Is there another book in there somewhere?
I get asked that a lot already. And look, I'm not jumping into one, but I'd never say never. And the reality is there probably is another book in there somewhere.
There's a, when MH17 came down, shot down, I can't think of another incident like that apart from Lockerbie.
It gets compared to Lockerbie quite a lot.
Yeah, I guess it would. There was another documentary they made about a Boeing 777. I'm not sure what airline that was, but it came down in the ocean.
You're thinking of Air France, June 2009, Rio to Paris, A330, I think.
Was it A330? That's right.
Yeah, A330.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
And as of yesterday, Air France and Airbus had a fine issued out of the EU of €250,000.
Oh, that's why I think of it. Yes, that's
a couple of days ago. Yeah,
not a big fine, but
it's funny because that's like 17 years after the event.
Yeah. But
it's a trivial fine.
But apparently, Tony and Matthew and Gary, what they found when eventually they found the black box, they discovered that the captain had left the bridge or left the cockpit and there were two co-pilots, one I suspect a trainee, and they input into the computer something that wasn't right.
They were heading into a stall, and in a panic they were pulling back on the stick rather than pushing down to recover from the stall. They had no basic flight training that was kicking in when it was needed.
No. So it was both the aircraft and the airline
Absolutely.
that was held responsible. But, I would think that that, for the people who died, would be very hard to live with, that was totally preventable. Not to say that MH17 wasn't totally preventable, but we need to be able to know that we can travel with relative safety.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's I think that's like I've sort of said, a lot of people do resonate with these things because we're, especially in Australia, Australians travel, they do stuff, and we have every right to feel safe when we do travel overseas or anywhere for that matter.
Did you wrestle with finding a title, The Day the Sky Fell? Did you come up with that immediately, or did that take a while?
It probably, it's a bit of both, to be honest. I toyed with a few different titles, but The Day the Sky Fell was always in the mix. And at one stage it was a chapter heading, and ultimately it got sort of pulled out and pulled up front as the title of the book.
Would you like to see somebody make it into a documentary or a movie, a biopic?
Yeah. So look, I think it lends itself to that sort of thing. There's definitely a screenplay or something that can be written out of it. I haven't pursued anything along those lines yet, Jeremy. But if one of your listeners is in that field and thinks it's worth having a look at, I'd be more than happy to have a chat.
Well, you just never know who is listening. You just don't know. Anyway, how do we get the book? What's the best way? Self-published, and what does one do?
So self-published, so you can order it, I guess, directly from myself. I've got a website. It's matthewhorder.com.au.
Oh, good, easy.
It is because it is all published properly, so you can get it on all the major online book retailers like Amazon and Booktopia and those sort of places. There's an ebook on Amazon KDP, and look, you probably won't find it in your bookshop, but you can certainly ask your local bookshop to order it in for you. It'll all be catalogued properly. They can get one in, get a copy for you.
Well, I was talking earlier about the fact that 700 radio stations on the CBS network closed down today. Maybe it is not with the international difference in time exactly today, American time, but they will close on the 22nd of May. And it's a bit like, radio's a bit like the book industry in a sense, because people would always go to their local bookshop. People would always turn on their local radio station. And that doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah.
The online world in which we live is really taking over.
It is a little bit, although there are some good bookstores around there, and I think when people are out and about, they often stick their head in.
Yeah.
And I don't know about radio. I always put it on when I'm in the car. So I guess
there are good bookshops and there are some good radio stations as well. No, I totally agree with you. And that's why I find it a sad day that so many people, 700 radio stations is an awful lot of people, to find themselves just out of work like that, closed down and gone. That's after 100 years, 100 years they've been broadcasting. Anyway, it's good to talk to you, Matthew, and good luck with the book. Matthew Horder, HORDER.com, The Day the Sky Fell, and I wish you well with it.
Look, thanks, Jeremy, and thanks very much for having me on.
No, it's a great pleasure. No, thank you.
Wonderful.
Whether you're building your first, second or third home or a seasoned property developer, no one likes extra scary costs. Rossdale Homes get that, which is why they pride themselves on their absolute fixed price guarantee. They believe trust is a must, and with their guarantee and fixed price contract, you'll get no nasty surprises. For peace of mind, trust Rossdale, where only you can change the price. rossdalehomes.com.au, trust is a must. BLD 8104.
I'm a single girl, all alone in a great big town. I'm a single girl, and I get so tired of love letting me down. But there's a man I've yet to know, waiting somewhere I've yet to go. Someday I'll have a sweet loving man to lean on. The single girl needs a sweet loving man to lean on. The single girl needs a sweet loving man to lean on.
Moody Blue. Hell, I'm talking to. Feel like night and day. Trying to say which one is you. I'm afraid of my moody blue. Moody Blue. And Gary reminds me that today, Gary, American time or Australian time?
Adelaide time this morning was the last program put forward by
Stephen Corbett.
And pre-Letterman, of course. And I think that's very sad. It was 90% political.
Well, it was a hatchet job on Trump, and obviously the people who own CBS are great mates with the Trump family, and Trump would pick up the telephone and say, this guy's tearing me apart every night.
He was. And, of course, the singer, a famous American singer, rock and roll singer, he was taking pieces out of Trump as well because of that.
Yeah, well, Tony would be a great Stephen Colbert fan, I would think.
Well, I was too. I found him.
Oh, look, he was funny, but
very, very funny. But slightly to the left of Attila the Hun.
Oh God, yes, left of Attila the Hun. But was Attila the Hun on the right?
I actually think he was.
I think he was.
Just a terminology that I picked up. You get the idea.
Mao Zedong.
Mao Zedong.
He's left of Mao Zedong.
Indeed. Or possibly the Greens.
It's what, Caroline?
Bruce Springsteen. Thank you, Caroline.
Springsteen.
Yes.
What do you mean it was Bruce Springsteen?
Bruce got, he really got stuck into him.
Oh, we got stuck into Trump. Well, yeah, I mean, they're all Democrats in Hollywood and California. I mean, that's that's New York.
Well, Bruce is a big power in America.
Yeah. Well, I quite frankly would rather play a Charles Aznavour song. It's his birthday,
It's just an old-fashioned guy.
Johnny Carson's final appearance as host of The Tonight Show as well on this day in 1992. But then all those American nighttime shows, they're all way left of the centre, and they're all table-thumping Democrats.
Well, that's true too.
But it's all right.
It's only entertainment.
I know it's entertainment, but the point is Trump should be a seasoned politician who says, with a thick hide, you can say what you like. You just don't call me late for breakfast. You can say what you like.
Call me anything you want, but don't call me late for breakfast.
That's what I was trying to say.
Perfectly reasonable, Jeremy.
That's exactly
Have another
what
drink.
Oh, look, I will. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I tell you what, in this room, the book that I've been mentioning to you, which is the South Australian Picture Theatres and Drive-Ins book, I was privileged to go along and have a few words at the launch at the beautiful theatre, the Piccadilly, in North Adelaide, and I took the opportunity to say to the author, Scott Smith, come in and see us around the dining room table, and he has. Thank you for the book. A big commotion because everyone around the table loves the book. Congratulations
Thanks, Jeremy.
again.
Yeah, thank you.
You bought what? He's bought 2 copies.
3.
No.
I have one.
Oh, fantastic. Lucky I bought some with me.
Are you self-published?
I am, yeah. I own the Looking Back Publications is my business. Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Well, that's interesting because the author I spoke to a moment ago, Matthew Horder, and his book about the shooting down of MH17, he's self-published as well.
Yeah.
It's probably a hard row to hoe, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's a slog. It's you've just got to get yourself out there. There's no other way to do it. I've been very lucky. I think my subject has resonated with people. But you've just really got to sell yourself and be prepared to do things, like this.
It's not far away from your day job, though, is it?
It's a little bit removed, being on radio and whatnot.
Ah,
Absolutely.
yeah. But you took to it like a duck to water.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Yeah, because I think it's it's a subject that I'm passionate about, obviously, as well. But yeah, look, I guess the creative side is a little bit of when you say it's not far from a day job, it's a little bit close to that. I guess I'm talking to people all the time. The graphic designer can be a little bit reclusive. You spend a lot of time on the computer.
Well, I'm also self-published.
Well, I need you are both. No, you're not a graphic designer, are you?
I taught graphic designer at university for 20 years.
Yeah.
So that probably qualifies me.
You two have got lots to talk about.
Yeah, excellent.
Well, the first thing I spotted was the layout in that book. It's just gorgeous.
Thank you.
Yeah, well
cheers.
done.
I thanks very much. Yeah, I take a lot of effort, put in a lot of effort, and I have mentioned, like at the launch, it's lucky that the subject matter was.
Well, it should be mentioned. It comes in a
to-
very, very luxurious slip as well.
Yeah.
It shows a lot of care.
Yeah, we collect a lot of books. My wife Tanya and I, we collect a lot of books. So we know what we want, and we know, we try and give value for money. Basically, is what I've tried to do.
We all love books. Jeremy's a serious collector of books.
Absolutely.
Well, I've never had one of those e-book things. I couldn't imagine anything more soulless.
No. Well, I didn't do an e-book for this because
flick those pages.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep.
Smell the paper.
Oh, absolutely. It's the first thing I do. When the 2,000 books turned up, it took me back to my printing days. I worked in a
Feel the security of that nice heavy binding.
Yeah, it just took me back to being in a printing factory again.
It's a great coffee table book, but isn't it? It's a bit like theatres too. I don't know that the Piccadilly had a particular smell to it, but my early days of going to the cinema with my mum and my grandmother and brother was the smell of the place. I don't know if there was a particular, deodorizer or something that they used.
Yeah.
But every theatre I went to over the years had a different kind of a smell, but it was nevertheless very identifiable with cinema.
They're all similar now, aren't they? Because they've got that sort of musty smell now, which is not unpleasant. I'm not saying it's
No, they're
beautiful.
flea pits, most of them, I think. I don't like going to them at all. They're too small. What happened to the Wurlitzer?
Yeah.
And what happened to the red velvet?
I guess I'm talking the old ones. Yeah.
Well, so am I. Yes, and there's still a few of them in Adelaide, and they're just fabulous things to go
the
to.
Track Cinema Centre down at near Burnside?
Yes, that's gone.
Last time I went there, I reckon there were 6 people in it.
Yes.
Yeah, well, the older ones do attract a crowd still. The one on
They do.
Goodwood Road and one on Kensington Road.
Yep.
But haven't we all got great memories from drive-ins?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
I wonder what the population increase was as a result of drive-ins.
Well, this is the drive-ins were actually was the catalyst for the book. Really, I was going to do an Australia-wide drive-in book because there really wasn't anything done. But there was over 300. So, being a graphic designer and wanting to do a nice coffee table book, if I'd have done 300, and you do at least 2 pages on each each venue, and then obviously everything around that would have been a 700-page book. So,
What was the last drive-in in Adelaide, do you know?
it was Mainline at Jeps Cross.
It was the main line.
Yeah,
Not
so
the
we've
one
only
down at, no, where was it? No, at Port Elliot.
Port Elliot, yeah. So that went recently, relatively recently. That was 2000s, the end of 2000s that went. And then we've still got one left in Cooper.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so, but I
It's
went
not
up
underground.
there. It should be sometimes, I think, over 50 degrees. But I went up there and spoke to the people up there, and they lost their screen in 23, and they were determined to keep it going. Yeah, so
Any hope of reviving them on a commercial basis?
highly doubtful. I think Jeremy is.
That's a novelty.
Well, it's just the land is the big one. We drove past.
Yeah, of course. Yes,
we drove past. There's on the way here the old Hectorville site, and that's prime land now. It's all warehouses and office works and all that sort of thing, and so it's just prime land. Look, there's still the site up at O'Halloran Hill on the top of the hill up there is still there, and the screen's still there.
Was that the High Line?
I think it was the High Line, yeah.
Or was it Centennial
from memory.
Park?
Yeah. No, the High Line was Centennial Park. What was the O'Halloran Hill? That's a good question. I can't remember. There was Park Line up that way as well. Oh, you got me there.
Was it all one company or a series of independent?
Yeah, it was a real. It was really funny. I spoke to a fellow that was a projectionist there, and he showed me he's still got one of his pay slips. And in the 1930s, during the Depression, Hoyts and Greater Union got together to survive, and that was the only way they survived. And then later on, they parted company again. But he's actually got pay slips that have Hoyts and Greater Union both on the pay slip. So they were in partnership at some stage.
They
with the drive-ins.
They both, while they were in the picture business, they both went into radio stations. Hoyts owned several radio stations.
Yep.
Here in Adelaide, it was 5AD.
Yes.
And Greater Union owned 5KA with a 50% share held by the Labor Party.
Oh.
Which was interesting.
Right, I didn't know that.
Yeah. KA was interesting because it's the only radio station in Australian history that lost its licence during the war for sabotage.
Right.
Because they apparently, you know the story, Tony? They said that they were, that 5KA were broadcasting to Japanese submarines off the coast of Australia subversive messages. Now, I don't know if they ever proved it or anyone ever went to jail, but they closed it down.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did not know that. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Strange little story.
I remember the tradition with drive-in theatres was to reverse your Sandman in and then open up the doors to watch the show, or sort of close them from 3 minutes at a time. But by and large, that was the way we used to do it.
Yes, and the utes had
It's the old-fashioned way.
The old-fashioned way.
Yeah, the utes would back up and have a lounge on the back.
What was the sign on the back of the ute?
If this van's rocking, don't bother knocking.
Don't come a knocking.
I remember one which was, don't laugh, your daughter could be in here.
Oh, yes, that one too. Yeah.
We often talk about bringing back bumper stickers.
Yes.
There's
still a few of those panel vans around with those stickers on, actually.
But what a great lifestyle that was at the time when we think about that now.
It was.
It's
it was
lost completely, really, isn't it?
It was an innocent time. It was, it's just something we took for granted, and it and doing the book is actually, it's really resonated. That people, people come up to me, and I've done a couple of talks and whatnot, and people just come up to me and just tell me their stories and just tell me everything.
The number of people that collect those cars that would appear there at the time, like Sandmans, are worth a fortune now.
Absolutely.
And even utes. I can remember people turning up in utes and they'd have steamer chairs in the back of the ute and they'd all sit backwards in the car and watch the movie, and it was a fun time.
Absolutely.
And 60s and 70s primarily.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that people have told me that I guess wasn't as obvious, but it is when it's explained to you. But the time that the drive-ins came out was the time that the motor vehicle really took hold as well.
Yes, indeed.
So
Yeah.
these people were, they just complemented each other. People were
there'd be
passionate
people
about
down there in their tea bucket hot rods and all sorts of things.
Yeah, and they wanted somewhere to take these brand new cars.
Exactly.
They're like, what can we do with these?
And then, of
Along
course,
come the
the
drive-ins.
meeting at the cafeteria between films was a big deal.
Oh,
You could
absolutely.
meet girls there and all sorts of stuff.
Absolutely.
Shout
And then
them
you-
to a Coke and
they used to sell
encourage
you-
them back to your Sandman.
They'd sell you a steak
You're a
and you
bad
could cook it on a
man.
barbie.
Don't know about a Sandman. He's a bad man.
He's an evil fellow.
I
We're
know-
all guilty.
There's a lot of those stories too.
I know they say that nostalgia is not what it used to be, but I think there's a great appetite for the way things were.
Absolutely. No question.
I mean,
Yeah.
you even got a song called The Way Things Were.
Well, there is a big movement in Adelaide right at the moment.
You don't have to get Barbara Streisand to sing it. She already has.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That would work very well. We haven't.
Nostalgia is back, I think.
Nostalgia.
A wonderful
Yeah,
shop
and
off Light
Yeah.
Square called My Dead Grandpa.
Yes,
That's
been there.
you'd know that one? Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely full of nostalgia. It's really worth visiting.
It's fantastic. Yeah, I think, especially today with everything that's going on, I think more so than ever that people want to go back to those times, or at least revisit them, and pick up a book and go through and just have a look at the way things were. So I think there's a real market.
I think
for
there's
it.
a big turning point of the younger ones going towards nostalgia. I was listening to a program the other night, and I was amazed that these younger people were so into jazz.
Yes.
And there's jazz venues all over Adelaide at the moment. I really should try and catch up. I love that sort of music.
Yeah, we've been to a couple in Melbourne, haven't we?
Oh,
Yeah, they're
okay, so
fantastic.
you're noticing it also.
Yeah. So our sons, we got an 18 and a 19-year-old, big collectors of
Girls
LP
or boys?
LP, both boys.
Both boys.
Massive collectors of LP
That's why you look so young.
So your book is placed very, very nicely in time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I and that was kind of taken into account when I did the book too. Like, obviously, it's a commercial venture, so I had to, make sure that side of it was gonna
You
stand
should
up.
mention the dimensions of it. It's quite a big
It's
book.
a very big coffee table
Beautiful
book.
looking thing.
Yeah, it's so it's A4 landscape.
And what does that retail for?
So $85. We've got it for.
That's worth
Yeah.
its weight in paper.
Yes, well, basically, yeah. It's a heavy book. It's 2.5 kilos.
Us shorter
So-
people could stand on that when we're broadcasting.
Well, some people have called it a
Sit on
weapon.
A weapon, yes, yes. How did you and your lovely wife meet? Was it at a drive-in?
No, it wasn't a
No.
drive-in.
Not in a
It was-
Sandman.
It was actually at the Nord Hotel, Jeremy. So,
Is that the Irish one?
It is now. Yeah, Finn McCall's. I think.
Finn
it is.
McCall's. Yeah, it
Yeah.
tends to be
McCall's.
a watering hole that we like, don't we? Yeah, yeah. It's
Great pub. Yeah.
But unfortunately, they've taken all the nostalgia out of it, all of the Irish
We saw that. Yeah.
memories and stuff for some
We saw
reason.
that. Yeah.
I suspect the reason is that the hotel is owned by Dan Murphy's, and the whole kit and caboodle is owned by Woolworths, and everything is run out of Sydney, and they really wouldn't know in Sydney whether they're
Yeah.
running a radio station or a hotel,
No.
anything about South Australia, and they
No
probably
concern
don't
for
want
it.
to.
Yeah.
They just do what Sydney does, which is push us around and tell us what to do. Anyway, I've said to them, listen, what did you do with all that memorabilia? All those wonderful bits and pieces, pictures. And
Where's all the leprechauns gone?
well, and I say, we just stuck them in the room upstairs.
Oh, they might have some armour and moose heads.
Well, I said, look, anytime you want to sell that,
Or a DeLorean.
I'm in there. I'm in there. I'm up for it. Anyway, I don't know.
Fantastic.
Vintage planes.
So you met there, and
Yep. And what has it been? 95 it was. So, yeah, it's been 31 years now. Yeah.
31 years.
And how old are the children?
18 and 19, Toby and Nathaniel.
Good.
Yeah, so they've...
Was rapid fire?
Yes, right next to each other.
Couldn't get rid of him, could you?
Get it out of the way.
Yeah.
This didn't happen at a drive-in, I hope.
No, there were none around then, were there?
Oh, dear.
Unfortunately. We did. We lived too far away, yeah. So we went travelling through the Northern Territory, so we've done that a couple of times and lived in remote Aboriginal communities, and there's another book, that one.
Yes.
so we've sort of travelled a bit and just got out and had a look at the world, really, yeah. So it's been interesting.
Someone at that lovely launch of yours, which was very well... Did you organise it?
We did, yeah. Wallace Entertainment were integral. They were just unbelievable and have been through the whole book as well.
But you got Tony Pilkington and...
Rex Leverington.
Rex.
And your good self.
Yeah. And it was virtually a full house. I couldn't figure out whether everyone there was a projectionist or a worker in the theatres or just hooked up into the nostalgia.
It was a mix of everything. Yeah, there was a lot of people that were in the book that were there, and then a lot of people just came along for a look as well. We promoted it fairly heavy. We were lucky enough to promote we were on the flashback program.
Well, that's where I found you. That's where I found you.
That's right, yeah, Michael Smith, yeah. Double A twice. ABC have been great as well. They've just been fantastic. And then I'm heading up to Broken Hill in the next week to do a talk up there in the cinema. There's a lot going on up there actually, so it's really good timing. One of the old legends of Broken Hill, John Wren, has actually had a plaque, and the theatre's going to be named after him. So, so there's a lot going on up there. So it's really good timing as well.
I don't know if Caroline, because when we broadcast online like this, Caroline listens to it on, what's it called? Not My Radio.
Simple Radio.
Simple Radio, yeah. And it is delayed by about 20 seconds. So Caroline will be able to tell me. There's a bloke who comes on 3AW whose name is Smith. And he flies aeroplanes. We talked to him at, 20,000 feet or something. He's got his own aeroplane and he flew. He circumnavigated the entire country and talked to various people as he was flying around. Here she is. Caroline, what was his name? Mike Smith.
Mike Smith.
Well, we did when he was flying. Yeah. Come around here. Yep. Because he's on 3AW on a Saturday morning, which we always listen to.
Yes, and he has a movie theatre.
Yes, that's what I was getting to.
The Starlight.
He's got about six screens.
Wow.
But he's got an open air theatre, and he's got one in Bali, I think, hasn't he?
No, Timor.
Oh, Timor.
Oh, fantastic.
And he's also got a gin distillery.
And a gin distillery.
All goes together, doesn't it?
Possibly go wrong.
Could possibly go wrong. That's right.
Thank you, Caroline. You've got a good memory, you see, and I don't these days. I just, I remember crazy things from crazy places and crazy times.
Yeah.
I don't know. You've got another book that was mentioned at the launch of your current book.
Yes.
That you were going to do one on radio.
Yes. Yeah, got an interesting background there. The old radio days and possibly television days as well.
Oh yes, there's a lot of
South
material.
Australia. Yeah,
a lot of material.
Yeah, so I might have to come back on, Jeremy. And
no, I'd love you to. Just give me a bit of warning.
Are you aware of there's a 5KA reunion site which was put up around 2000 when 5KA, and there's a lot of material on there with audio clips and images of Leon Biner. And
Yeah.
like that.
And there's
So I'll send you the link.
There's the sound archive in Canberra, which is great.
We should mention that plaque down on Green Hill Road.
Oh, yeah. Well, the story about this dining room table is very similar to how radio started. We talked about the fact that CBS were closing down 700 radio stations, their whole network in North America.
Yep.
100 years of broadcasting. 100 years ago, radio started in Australia, down on Green Hill Road at Parkside, around the dining room table of one Jack and Stella Hume. And they only broadcast, I think it was for so many hours a day, and it went for 5 streets this way and 5 streets that way. And I don't know how many people in those streets actually had a receiver, but that's another story. But from there, that station, humble and all as it was, became 5DN. And then it went to the Colonial building. What was it, the Colonial Insurance Building or something? In King William Street.
Yeah, CML.
The CML, yes.
Corner of Hindley and King William.
Yeah, then it went out to North Adelaide, and the rest is history. And I had the privilege to own it for a while, and now I think it's relegated to doing I don't know what. Coles Radio, I think. I can't remember.
But that plaque, Jeremy, is adjacent to the old Teachers Union building.
Yep.
And it's really worth looking at. There's a time capsule in there.
Yep. There is a time capsule which captures an awful lot of stuff about the earliest radio days. Scott, Caroline's just brought me this. Michael Smith is the owner and restorer of the iconic Sun Theatre in Yarraville, Melbourne. Along with his wife and business partner Anne, he has spent decades transforming the formerly dilapidated Art Deco cinema into a renowned cultural hub. Beyond his work in the cinema industry, Michael is also a celebrated aviator and entrepreneur. Record-breaking? He became the first person to fly solo around the world in a single-engine amphibious plane, a flying boat named the Southern Sun. So he's an interesting character.
Fantastic.
And he's got a gin.
Yeah,
Distillery.
as you say, they're all intertwined.
Perfect man.
It would seem to be. Well, good luck. Let's know what your next move is, because we'll be very keen to cover it.
Absolutely, yes. As I say, I will certainly need to talk to you, Jeremy. So we shall be in contact.
Okay. Well, bless you, and keep up not only the good work but the quality of the work that you do.
To produce a book of that quality really is exceptional.
Yeah.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
No corners cut. Clearly.
No.
Well, I don't. Yeah, I sort of, as I say, this is what I want to receive. So hopefully that's
just quickly. That would measure, I would say, 320 millimetres.
Just hang on there a second on the phone.
Yeah,
I'll
so
be with you in a minute.
bit oversized A4 landscape.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's so it's obviously 297, 210, but a little bit oversized.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah. So it's it is as you said, it's a big book and it's 2.5 kilos.
Now,
so.
just to give it a plug as to how people can buy it.
Absolutely, thank you. Yep. So if you can head along to driveinsandcinemas.com. You can buy it direct from us if you're a little bit out of
driveinsandcinemas.com.
Driveinsandcinemas.com.
Okay.
Yeah, all one word. So AND.
Yep.
All the Dimmicks in Adelaide are storing them as well. So Glenelg, Kai Park, and in the mall in the old Regent Theatre. Dylan's on the Parade at Nord.
Yep.
And also Page and Turner. In the Myer Centre.
Page and Turner, that's a good name.
Isn't it a great name? And it's a great bookshop too. So,
divorce lawyers.
Page and Turner, the divorce lawyers.
All the best. I don't think you'll have a problem selling that.
No, it's a beautiful book. Congratulations, and thank you for coming in.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
No, I appreciate it, and thank you for having me at your opening. I enjoyed that. It was good fun.
It was great having you there. I really, I was very thankful that you were able to make it, Jeremy.
Nearly didn't make it, but I did. Thank you, Scott. Scott Smith, ladies and gentlemen. Scott Smith, we're here for the wonderful people, Rossdale Homes, by the way. Who's on the line?
Peter.
Oh, Peter. How are you?
I am good, Jeremy. How are you?
Young, alive, and a lot of fun.
Jeremy, can you please explain something to me that might make a bit of sense?
Yeah, I'll try.
How did the oil companies get all of our oil and gas, and the gas companies get all of our oil and gas, which is in Australia, underground Australia? How did they get hold of that when that is part of our sovereign rights as citizens of Australia?
Well, I reckon what they did was to get a license to drill or explore, and that license entitled them to ownership as long as they paid a certain amount of money for... I don't know what you'd call it.
It's a royalty. What you're talking about?
Royalties, yeah. As long as they coughed up royalties, the government got money for nothing but gave away the asset.
Well, the problem is the government didn't get money for nothing because they're not getting tax money off the gases, which is if our natural resources were all taxed at the appropriate rate before they leave the country, if they were like that, we'd be paying. We sort of calculated this out. We should be paying no income tax. We should be paying no GST. We should be paying no excise on our fuel.
Well, that's what happens, in oil-rich countries like Saudi Arabia. There's no such thing as capital gains tax or income tax or anything like that. They simply make all their money out of selling the natural resource that belongs to the people.
That's right, and it does belong to the people. It's ours as citizens of the country. It is our resources, and this has got me beat. How did Howard sell 162 tons of our gold at $440 per ounce when it's now worth $6,000 per ounce? How did Howard and Keating sell the Commonwealth Bank, our railways, and a whole stack of other things?
Yeah.
Which are all assets owned by the people. These people have committed treason.
Well, that was to sell off, pay off debt so that they could say that they're very good managers.
We know what they did it for, but that's not the point. The point is they had no rights to sell it because it wasn't theirs to sell.
You're absolutely correct.
So what they've done is they've stolen.
Well, it smacks of fraud, Peter.
Well, it is fraud, and it is also treason because what they've done is taken money away from the people of the country, and then they go along and take this money and what happened to the money. And then we've got a little situation where Julia Gillard and Alexander Downer both gave money to the Clinton Foundation. Then Gillard went and worked for the Clinton Foundation as a representative. How much of that money got kicked back to Gillard?
Well, we've actually given the Australian government, various governments, clearly most of them on the left, something like $230 million to this Clinton Foundation. Now, I don't know who authorised that or said that was a good idea.
Well, that can't happen unless they can't give our money away unless they go to a referendum to ask the people if they can give our money away.
They don't ask us. They
don't ask us. So then that's treason.
Well, it's not treason. We've allowed them to have the privilege to be able to lord it over us and make, well, I suppose along the way, some good decisions, but some appalling decisions too.
You're like the Lima Declaration where Whitlam signed away all of our industries.
That's right. I mean, it's amazing that the trade union movement, hand in hand with Whitlam, and I can't remember offhand his deputy who both went over there and
Cairns.
No, it wasn't Jim
Wasn't
Cairns.
Cairns?
No, it was his deputy prime minister at the time. And they signed away all of Australia's industries to benefit third world countries. And now they're talking about made in Australia and all of that crap. And the trade union is supposed to be helping the worker. And they, with the Labor government, got thousands and thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people out of a job. I mean, it makes no sense.
These people are simply anarchists.
I took the TWU to court many years ago, actually, for demanding money with menaces when they come in trying to stand over my drivers and make them join the union. Told them they told me that they would cut my fuel off, my tyres off. I wouldn't be allowed to go onto any railways. And the idiot that was there, spouting his big mouth off, I had him on a recording. I actually recorded a letter for my secretary at the time.
Good for you.
I got him on a letter, on a recorder. And that sort of bit him pretty hard when old Joe Bjorky-Peterson took him to court.
Well, I'll tell you this. There was a proposal, and it's been in the pipeline for a long time, various governments. It was established that we would create an inland railway, and it would go from Melbourne to Brisbane, and it would take thousands and thousands of trucks off the road.
Yes.
And it would facilitate a great boom, as railroads have always created a great boom because they basically are moving freight and people and industry and produce and whatnot all over the country easily and cheaply. And now this wonderful nation-building project, the Inland Radio, has stopped at Parkes, and this government has said no more money. It's over budget, but hell, whatever. What this government or any government does that doesn't go over budget, I don't know. But it stops at Parkes, so it's never going to get to Queensland, which renders it useless. And do you know why?
Money.
No, I suspect it was the Transport Workers Union who said to this Labor government, our drivers depend upon the stuff on the back of their trucks.
Yep.
We do not want this stuff on a train. You've got to stop
Purely
that.
political.
You will do our workers, and frankly, it's their job. The union's job is to look after their worker. But the idea of saying to the nation of Australia, you've spent all of this money and it just stops dead end at Parkes when it should have gone all the way to Brisbane and created a fabulous piece of future infrastructure for this nation.
It should have gone all the way to Cairns.
Well, it could. It could.
It should have gone all the way to Cairns with a distribution point in Kingaroy or the Kingaroy area.
Yeah.
So that all of the freight coming from down the south from Sydney and Melbourne and Adelaide would come up to here and get distributed into Brisbane and other places. Then go all the way to Cairns.
Yep.
And then also have another spur line going from Kingaroy basically to Darwin. And that way we get all of the produce and everything else and comes out of North Queensland. And it would go from North Queensland straight down to Kingaroy and go straight across to Darwin for Southeast Asia. That's what should have happened.
Well, it still can. You know, they bought the land, which is the biggest component. They have the corridor. It's there. But they just don't want to do it because they've been told by their union masters that it is not on.
That's right.
That's what I believe. I mean, I don't have any evidence. I have no tangible evidence, but that's what I believe.
The unions in this country are so corrupt that you've got no idea the demand on people. I've worked for a number of companies and that had demands put on them by the union, and then they're folded. Whereas when they started their crap with me, I just stood up to them and took them to court. And every time I'd jump in the truck and go into, say, a railway depot or something like that, they, we're not unloading you. You're black-handed. I just jump on one of their forklifts and myself, and they used to get quite excited about that. You know, they've used fear, intimidation, and standover tactics for a long, long while. And I would say that probably people in the union have been forced to join a union with fear of their job.
Yeah, I could tell you some stories about that. Peter, thank you for that. I appreciate it.
But when I dream of you.
Oh, this is lovely. Maybe someday.
Maybe someday you will come true.
What a song.
When I dream of you.
Maybe someday.
Maybe someday you'll come true.
Isn't that beautiful? I love that. Have you got that Charles Aznavour song next, have you? Is it in there somewhere? I'll get to his birthday in a minute. But that's what's his name? Who just sang Clement, Jack Clement? Yeah, he used to write also kind of novelty songs, I suppose you'd call them. Novelty songs he wrote a lot of songs for Johnny Cash, but that was one, and he didn't sing. He wasn't a singer. But for some reason, that is just the most beautiful song. When I dream of you. Beautiful. May the 22nd, the day that radio died in America. Apart from that, 1807, Townsend Speakman. What a wonderful name. Townsend Speakman first sells fruit-flavoured carbonated drinks in Philadelphia. How about that? Is that a red letter day? Join in, fellas, if you disagree or whatever. 1807, Townsend Speakman started selling flavoured carbonated
Lolly water.
Oh, whatever. Dr. Washington Sheffield invents the toothpaste tube. Wow.
He's got a lot to answer for. You can never get the last bit out.
Well, have you ever tried putting it back in the tube?
I know.
Why?
No.
Oh, I don't know.
There is a way you kind of blow it in from the other end. You can do it.
Well, you're a scientist and an engineer. You'd probably find a way to put toothpaste back in a tube.
There is a way.
There's a way.
Manipulate it the right way.
There is a way.
Oh, for God's sake.
Wright brothers are granted a patent for their flying machine. What's that called today, Tony?
An aircraft?
An aeroplane, yes, that's right. Their flying machine, having applied for 3 years earlier, it took them 3 years to get patent number 8212 got to get it right. 821393. The patent for a flying machine. 1906. Wow. George End introduces genuine diamond-backed rattlesnake with supreme sauce in a can.
Oh, you need some of that.
God.
They used to serve that at drive-ins,
Well,
didn't they?
that was his first.
That's worse than spam.
It was the first Florida product. His corporation was called Florida Products Corporation, and that was his first. I wonder.
Could have been his last.
I would have thought genuine diamond-backed rattlesnake with supreme sauce. It doesn't tell me here how much it cost.
It's not with Vegemite.
Production ceased in 1944, but it was going since 1931, when the owner dies, a victim of one snake's... He was bitten by a snake. What irony.
Indeed.
He was bitten by a snake.
I don't believe that.
Well, Caroline compiles these. Caroline compiles these. I accept them. Leroy Buffington is another great name. Where are all the great names? Leroy Buffington patents a system to build...
Wait for it.
Skyscrapers.
Perfectly reasonable.
Would that have been the Empire State Building?
Well, I don't know. It was 1888. The Empire State Building was 1932. Which was amazing because they built it in the Depression
in a year or so.
In 1 year. Try doing that with it.
Well, people were just not busy.
Loveliest buildings in New York.
It's a beautiful
it is gorgeous. I've been up
there's
it.
only one.
Still got the ticket.
There's only one tower that's better. That's made Trump Tower.
Trump Tower. Well,
he's bigger and more beautiful.
What worries me is that if the Empire State Building was here, it would be knocked down and they'd put up something else. You have to have a sense of history. You know, we knock down theatres, cinemas. We'll knock down anything, and we don't necessarily replace it with something that is more beautiful.
Actually, the Chrysler Building in New York is almost as beautiful. It's covered with hubcaps.
Is it?
You know
It's
how
a
that
gorgeous building.
You know, there was a
covered with car hubcaps.
I thought it was covered with banana stuff to attract the ape who used to climb it.
Well, you could be right.
There was a contest between them, and they were trying to become the tallest skyscraper in New York.
Yeah.
I think it was Chrysler at last minute hoisted that big
When I was in the
spire,
Empire
hang on,
State Building.
Gary, and they
Sorry to
hoisted
talk
the
over you,
spire
Tony.
We had this thing about talking.
Yeah.
That made it the taller one just last minute by hoisting this great spire above the other one.
Winning is not the most important thing. It is the only thing.
Indeed.
It is true. What else can I tell you? The transporting of British convicts to New South Wales is abolished, 1840 on this day. First modern sighting of the Loch Ness Monster by Aldy and John Mackay, who claimed to have seen something resembling a whale on this day in 1933.
That makes sense. How would it have got up the canals?
Well, I don't know, but it's the stuff of legend and good tourism. Come on. Never.
I've been up there and I've looked for ages and ages. I saw nothing.
Never waste a good sighting. Bernie Taupin, British lyricist, Elton John, singer. I don't know that he sang songs, but he was born in Sleaford, Lincolnshire. Goodbye, Yellow Brick Road. Candle in the Wind. Your Song. Bernie Taupin. Yep. 1950. Actually, there's more money in writing a song than there is in singing it, quite frankly. First, Atlas. Caroline, what's that word? Theatrum Orbis. Theatre of the World, apparently, if you want to translate it. Published. Oh, why did you put that in there? It makes 1570. Back. Have you heard of Relevance?
Did you have to study the Atlas at school?
Oh, no. I was away that day. I had a note from my mother. For everything, I know. Even getting married, I remember that. Arthur Conan Doyle, British author and a fellow who brought back Sherlock Holmes twice, was born in Edinburgh, Scotland, died in 1930, born 1859 on this day. Johnny Carson's final appearance as host of The Tonight Show. Robert Zimmerman a.k.a. Bob Dylan, is bar mitzvahed. What if a boy has a bar mitzvah? What does a girl have? Does anyone know? I don't know. Somebody might ring and
What does
tell
bar
me.
mitzvah mean? Does it mean
No, a bar
barred
mitzvah.
from the mitzvah?
No. It means coming of age. It means.
Oh, thank you.
know, the part that worries me is that at the age of 12 they tie you down and circumcise you, which is a little
Well, that'd really smart.
traumatic.
It would be.
Abraham Lincoln
really hurt.
Abraham Lincoln receives a patent. The only U.S. president to have ever received a patent from the patent office for a device to lift a boat over shoals and obstacles.
Oh, my God. I
How
thought you were going to
useful-
talk about bras then.
How useful bras?
I thought that's what you were leading into, but you didn't.
What did Abraham Lincoln have to do with bras?
Oh, you talk about lifting things. That's what
Oh,
generally-
I see. Now, that's lift and separate. That's a completely different campaign.
I think Trump.
Before he became president, he had boats.
Closer,
and they'd
closer,
run-
closer.
Before
Come
he
closer,
became
come on.
president, he had boats and he'd run into shoals the whole time and scrape the base. So he
Okay.
patented it.
Trump's got a patent as well, you know.
What is that?
On telling lies every time he opens his mouth.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Laurence Olivier, British BAFTA, Oscar, Emmy award-winning stage and screen actor. Rebecca, that was a good movie. Hamlet. Henry V, born in Dorking, Surrey, in England. He died in 1989. He was born this day in 1907. And for a great actor, all his life he suffered from terrible stage fright to the point where he would throw up before the curtain went
That's
up.
very untidy.
Well, it was just the way he was.
Actually, Jeremy, the story is that Barry Humphries did that as well.
Yeah,
And
well-
he'd come out on stage to perfection when he did
Yeah.
Dame Edna Everage and all the other characters he did. But
Yeah.
I have read that that's what he did as well. But he was just such a
Yeah.
brilliant performer.
Most of the people that I've met or had worked with or interviewed over the years, the big names, you know, the sort of John Laws and Graham Kennedy, they all suffer from terrible insecurity. They are absolutely insecure. And the bravado and the ability or the unique ability to walk out on a stage with all of the self-doubt in the world and put on a face is what makes them stars, I
Our
suspect.
darling Beverly Harrell is a bit like that until you shine a torch on her, then she goes nuts.
Oh, yeah, well, you need the footlights up.
He's
Footlights
fantastic.
are a good thing, you know. Footlights are a good thing. Louis V of France, King of West Francia, 686287, known as Louis the Do-Nothing. Louis the Do-Nothing.
There's a few of them around.
Okay.
Still in politics.
He dies at 20. Well, yeah, well, of course he didn't do much. He was only 20. Show me a 20-year-old that does anything.
Apart from sleeping.
Yeah. That's true. American That Girl actress Marlo Thomas. Her father was
Robert Gottliebsen.
Danny Thomas, wasn't it? Yes.
Scathing.
42, weds American talk show host Phil Donahue, 44. His second marriage, her parents' home until his death in 2024. Because Phil O'Donoghue was a legend in the American talk show, daytime television genre. 1980. The final European scheduled run of the Orient Express after 94 years. That was in 1977, but they used the train in all of those wonderful old movies, which is just wonderful. Where is the one of Charles Aznavour? Because have we got the Charles Aznavour song? Because I do want to, which is Yesterday When I Was Young. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Charles Aznavour. Charles Aznavour, French-Armenian singer. She, Tim Drum, born in Paris, France, died in 2018, and he was born this day in 1924. But the song that I love that he did, which I think was the best thing he ever did, was Yesterday When I Was Young. The taste of life was sweet upon my tongue. Have a listen.
There are so many songs in me,
that won't be sung. I feel the bitter taste of tears upon my tongue. The time has come for me to pay for yesterday, when I was young.
Charles Aznavour. Young. And I had lined up Je t'aime, which is also very nice, but I'll keep that for next week. And I'll say happy birthday to actress and singer Cher. It's her birthday, 18... No, that's unfair. That's awful. No. David Letterman, American singer and actress Cher, on this day calls David Letterman an asshole while a guest on his late-night television program on NBC, which is now hosted by Stephen Colbert, or was up until today. A lot of things are opening and closing on this day, strangely. Anyway, that was back in 1986, but it's also her birthday. Listen, we've got to go. Thank you so much for being with us, and I would like to thank our sponsors, the lovely people at Rossdale Homes. Can't do much in this world without sponsors. Doesn't matter whether you're building your first, your second, or your third home. Maybe you're a seasoned property developer. Nobody likes scary costs. You know how they quote a price to get you in, and then, oh, didn't we tell you? Oh, we forgot to mention. Yeah, well, you know, the world is full of that sort of thing, but you won't find that with Rossdale Homes. They take great pride in their absolute fixed price guarantee, and they say, their slogan, which it has been for years and years and years, when trust is a must. And show me any relationship in business or elsewhere, in fact, where trust is not a must. Trust is a must. They have a guaranteed fixed price contract. No nasty surprises. Peace of mind, Rossdale, where only you, nobody else can do it, only you can change the price. Very nice to know. rossdalehomes.com.au.
Lovely brace of show homes on the corner of Bevington Road and Portrush Road in Glenunga.
Yeah, is that the collective noun for show homes, is it? A brace?
I said a bevy, I thought.
Oh, a bevy, okay.
Well, I'll take brace.
Okay.
Brace.
Either way, they're nice homes. They're all different.
The one on the left is really gorgeous, in my opinion.
Really?
I've been in it. It was just drop dead gorgeous. Yeah, the one on the far left. Very, very special.
I tend to not go far left.
It has a really lovely Asian
times.
feel, that building.
Yeah?
No, it is really quite gorgeous. Oh, they all are.
Yeah.
Depend on
Well,
one's
listen, we've
taste.
got to go. Caroline, thank you for everything. Tony, thank you.
She'll
Scott,
come in 8 seconds.
Scott's still here. She'll be here in 8 seconds. Gary, thank you.
It's my pleasure,
And
Jeremy.
Thank you to all our listeners and all our guests. In fact, I will thank our guests because we had a really packed show today. Now, Professor Plimer couldn't be with us today. He was called away as he is. He's an incredibly busy man, but he does manage to fit us in just about every single week, for which we are grateful. Professor Michael Notel, School of Psychology and all of that, Dr. John Bruni, and the great Robert Gottliebsen. Who else was on the show? Dean Brown, former Premier of South Australia. That was great. Matthew Horder and his book about the Ukraine plane crash MH17, and the beautiful book that Scott Smith has written on the movies and the movie theatres. Now, you have a wonderful weekend. Thank you very much for your company and your support.
And goodbye to Katie.
And the dog's barking and saying goodbye at the same time. We'll see you with a posting on Facebook on Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock and again on Thursday. Thank you so much. Believe in yourself. Jeremy Cordeaux and the Court of Public Opinion will return next Friday.
We're together, right or wrong. Where you go, I'll tag along. Remember me, I'm the one.